Hey, we got numbers.
Hey, welcome to ClevelandMoto Podcast number 486. Light 'em up, boys. And somebody once said, "Are you 486ing the baby?" And I said, "I'm 486ing the baby." So here we are.
And Mark says, sounds good.
Good, excellent, fantastic, beautiful, beautiful baby. Sounds like McElfresh got some delay going on his box, but
we're
that's
live.
fine. We'll suffer. We'll suffer through it. We've been through more.
Yes.
We've been through more with less. I can always tell you that. It's winter. It's Cleveland. I know a lot of us aren't doing any riding. Anybody ride any motorcycles this week?
Negative.
Anyone?
Nope.
I rode my quad runner for about 40 minutes yesterday.
Hey, all right. There you go.
I spun donuts and ripped up the compound as much as I could.
Perfect.
I have an 8 a.m. appointment with my pond.
2 inches of snow.
And how's the pond
like
looking,
38
Steve?
out there right now, right?
It is amazing because like we had 4 days of just cold with no snow.
Right.
So it's
a sheet of glass.
completely flat.
It was 13 last night.
Yeah, it was cold.
But it's going to be 50 on Monday.
Yeah, but tomorrow it's not.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
I want
right.
to get my donuts in.
Oh, you're going to get your donuts in? Oh, that ice is going to be super thin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wear your life preserver.
I will.
You better strap a 2x4 to your ass. Not in it like normal. Just
I have a sneaking suspicion you're going to have a very cold, very wet ass tomorrow.
It's been frozen since last Monday.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. It's there.
So you think it's 4 inches thick then?
At
The lagoons
least.
out
At
of
least.
work. The lagoons out of work look like you could walk out.
He stuck something in there and made sure it was 4 inches.
Right. If you fell down face first.
Twice.
Yeah. Twice. Yeah, that's it. To our Patreon members out there, thank you very much. Dr. Wobstaquaw, we talked about last week, absolutely bringing the fun, bringing the thunder. Lorenzo G, bringing the thunder. We love that stuff. Bronze Cole, hats off, baby. Just $5 a month wasn't enough for him. He had to go to the fucking legend level.
Oh shit.
So
Beautiful.
Bronze Cole, my friend, well played, sir.
And now you get the jokes.
Well played. Now you get the jokes. Yeah,
And Tom's personal number.
I've got one ready. That's right.
So that's pretty amazing, man. Also, I got a really weird package in the mail the other day. And, you know, we're famous for sending random stuff out.
Now, for the record, Renee opens the packages, so whatever you put in there, make sure it's Renee appropriate.
Oh, I don't think that's required at all.
I'm just saying.
No,
I don't think
not
there's
at
a
all.
high level for Renee.
That's true.
Not even a little bit. Right. Yeah. You can't shock her.
As sweet as Renee is, she's seen some shit.
Well, she's been around Phil.
Yes.
really long time.
Yes. I mean, oh yeah, that's going to scare her. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, no, I meant
no,
no.
it's not going to scare her.
I mean, don't
That's
send
not-
like elephant dung from the zoo. Then again, we could use some fertilizer.
Again,
Not the first time.
Well, it was the first time.
It's an 18-inch rubber dick, and it's got
Throw it on the
poo
pile.
on it. You know,
Throw it on the pile.
that's not.
Yeah.
I think we have a box for those.
Another one. Come on, guys.
Oh look! It's going for the raffle prize for Pittsburgh.
So that's one of those deals, and we got this box.
Kenyon
and it was
just sent $20 actually.
I'm sorry?
Mark Kenyon just sent $20 through YouTube.
I didn't even know we could do that.
Apparently we can.
And
my
he says,
God.
You see the comment?
Yeah, it's for clay pigeons.
He's funding clay pigeons.
That's a good fund right there.
get
Because
money.
we have been using podcast money to
Hey,
shoot.
I got the video up.
Oh, you
1
did?
minute before I got here.
Oh yeah.
I think you guys are going to dig it.
Oh, that is badass.
I put a little time into this one.
Good. Well, you do have a touch, man. You do have a certain.
Can I just say, the
touch.
people listening, if you
Yeah.
haven't subscribed to the channel, I get like 90% of the people watching it aren't subscribed, but I'm
Right.
getting all these fucking views.
I know.
And I'm like,
Yeah, but you can't get subscriptions.
Yeah, I'm like,
I've
just
been
make the
begging.
click. How hard is it to fucking click a button?
I've been begging for 476 more subscribers for the past month. I got up 3 people.
Yeah.
3 people. I've been begging for months
But
to try
meanwhile,
to crack.
you look and the views are there.
Yeah.
And it's like just not
Oh
subscribed.
no, we had 6,000 downloads downloads of our podcast last week, and I can't get 476 people to subscribe to YouTube.
You know what?
We're gonna
Speaking of clay pigeons, when are we gonna get the video?
I just said he dumped it.
Welcome to the conversation,
right
Jack.
now.
What?
We aren't talking about it.
Can we pause the podcast so I can watch the video?
Are you on delay?
I was paying attention to the phone.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, this is
You see
this is the present.
When you see this,
Oh God, it's a
I
head.
don't want to do it. I want to make this big, beautiful splash. I really want to
it in
make
front
this
of the
big, beautiful
camera.
splash.
Just don't hit the buttons.
Don't hit the buttons.
But I'm going to do it. All right, here we go.
Oh God.
Oh, let's just do it here.
Oh God.
Wow.
Hey, look at that. Snacks.
Taking all the pistachio.
Okay, now that I got your attention.
Where did this come from?
I'm about to tell you where
He's
it
been
came
talking
from.
about this. Jeez, where you been?
All
Are we
right.
sponsored by pistachios?
These are good.
Apparently, we're sponsored by Eric Tolton.
And Dots.
Eric,
Dots.
my man.
Looks
Thank
like
you
Dots.
so much.
Oh, and almonds.
It's
That's
got
a good
everything.
pile.
Guys, it's a party pack. But I'm going to ask you this. This is the Miss Emma rule. All right? The Miss Emma rule is if you're going to eat, don't eat the microphone.
I'm
Okay?
eating the microphone.
So put your fucking face, put your chewer away from the microphone
John is known for that. Though.
so we don't have to deal with all of your mouth
Dude, you should
noises.
open an ASMR channel of you just chewing on shit.
Shut up, fucking sound guy.
No.
And I like the way that they did send us crunchy snacks.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right. Greetings, Cleveland Moto Podcast. I just wanted to raise a beer and give you the Jeremiah Johnson GIF nod for putting out an excellent podcast. About 3 years ago, I had an apartment 5 minutes away from work, so I am a bit of a noob to the whole podcast platform. But now that I have an hour commute each way, podcasts have been a godsend. All I can say is at 59 years of age, I am definitely in your peer group. You guys do an exceptional job covering all things motorcycles. I have lived in metro Atlanta, Georgia, more or less since 1981. That's something. I am a European luxury car automotive technician with 41 years of automotive experience.
Nice.
One brand continuously since 1996 at a dealership capacity. The brand is not important. So he says. That's a guy who wants to keep his job.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. The brand is not important. European describes enough. Lots of black plastic parts under the hood these days and HV battery cell modules for the cherry on top.
Must
All
be
right.
BMW.
I get into wrenching cars because I was told by a Yamaha dealer tech, two-stroke cylinder porting guru, don't wrench on bikes for a living when I was only 15 years old.
Oh, you met Dean.
I was just thinking the exact same things from that part of the world. A two-stroke guru. Yeah, okay, I got you. In the end, I don't think I made the right choice one way or the other. I should have continued college or gone into the military. I should have opened my own car repair shop 20 years ago. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. What you guys do with this podcast is you remind me when it was possible to know everyone in the motorcycle community in your area. All kinds of motorcycle riders, racers of all ages, the dealership owners and employees. I got a pretty good taste of that from childhood until the population explosion where I now reside. When I was a kid, I thought every guy that owned a motorcycle shop was a grouchy asshole.
True.
Get them away from work or on the track and they were totally different people. And as a kid, you can grow up with motorcycles with an open mind. You guys do keep an open mind, and thus you are well-rounded. Many in the motorcycle community are not well-rounded, and to no surprise, they are relative newcomers more often than not. I have had 18 different bikes since 1976. I have 3 in the garage now, ready to ride. I have no antiques or projects. They were and are current time period bikes for when I owned them. What they were and are does not matter. I wish I could have kept all of them. I made the correct decisions for myself at those times, and that's all that matters. My 2 cents is now your $20.02 per month. You can throw the pennies at Pennington for me. He has gotten better about blurting out shit to his credit. Ride safe and ride like a bat out of hell. Eric Tolton.
This guy's awesome.
Attaboy, Eric.
That's a letter.
That's a fucking great letter. And when we get great letters, we like to read them out on the podcast because, again, that's what we're about. We're about people riding motorcycles.
You have me at snacks.
Well, that's great. But on top of that, though, I'm sensing that a lot of our listeners are fairly intelligent folks.
I want to know how long it took Eric to get
I'm
all these
digging that.
snacks out of the
I don't know, Sleepy. They
machine
listen to
at
us.
the dealership where he works.
They like to hear how the other half lives.
But I would like to remind people that a giant Costco box showed up at my house, at the
amazing.
garage, at the shop. So a box shows up at the shop. It says Costco on the side. I'm like, what, Renee? What did you get us into? And then I saw it was snacks. And part of my wife's job description is she has to host meetings. And sometimes at these meetings, she has to provide some snacks.
Oh, yeah.
And this school pays her back for that, right? And of course, my wife being my wife, she likes to make it special. Make it extra nice. So when the box showed up and it was full of fucking snacks, and this is a small
snacks.
King's Ransom full of snacks.
Oh, the pistachios are so good.
The pistachios are really good.
Chili pistachios.
Blue Diamond smoked almonds. Oh my God, these are awesome.
It's like, hey,
they're
Phil,
better than we
it's-
deserve.
It's like there's not an entire craft services table behind.
I
you
know that was the
guys.
other joke. Was like it's pretty funny. Here was the little, you know how you can put a little message in when you send something? It says, give these to Tom to stock the podcast seller. Smith looked like he was scrounging a little bit for a snack last week.
I was. That's true.
And it's true because Becky and Tom weren't here.
Yeah.
So our craft services table was
we got
empty.
to the bottom of that Utz party mix, and it got.
Oh, I know.
It's starting to get a little stale, and like 20 million hands have been in there.
Phil knows where the kitchen is upstairs.
look.
There's the top of the fridge is covered in snacks.
The only thing I did was feed the cat. That was it. Okay. But I think it's funny that
We almost shot the cat.
thought we had a home invasion going on.
Smith
It's a
ate the
small cat,
food.
makes a lot of noise. But it is funny that Eric picked up on Smith was looking around for a snack.
that might actually be the first time anybody has ever accused Molly of being small.
Right.
Chris was getting a bit peckish.
Peckish. But I wanted to read that out because Eric took such a nice time.
Yeah, big thanks again, Eric. Thank you.
Good
for
job, man.
Oh, yeah, no
Fucking
kidding.
Rocking the free world, buddy.
I
We love
really
you.
enjoy those emails, man.
Yeah.
Those
I
are
do too.
good,
I get a
man.
big kick out of a good.
It's always good to get feedback from people that
It really
that
is.
they listen to us and go, you guys aren't so shitty.
Yeah, right. You don't suck as bad as we thought you would. Yeah.
Did you say
that's-
feedback or feedbags?
Both.
You know what?
Feedbags work too.
You
my
can
friend.
send us a bottle of bourbon, and we'll be kind of
yeah.
we'll be kind of happy about that, and we may take a sip. But send us a big pile of snacks.
Oh yeah, you've tuned you've tuned into Cleveland Moto ASMR.
You're right.
like a seagull on a French
Don't
fry
even
over
think
here.
about sending us cheese.
We'd be bound up. Man. That was it.
No summer sausage.
So that's super fun and that's super cool. Just really got a kick out of that he was nice enough to send us that. That's pretty rad.
Oh yeah.
Straw Dog says, good evening, folks. Dave King, greetings from Mesquite, Texas. Currently on my 5th Modelo Especial.
We were talking about Modelo earlier.
And Redonk is saying massive Costco box arrives containing Eric's nuts.
These nuts are good.
Eric had a side bet going that he could have his nuts in our mouth by Friday.
Oh, he did it.
There you go.
He's now a millionaire.
Yeah.
Well, but it's
that was the side bet.
I've already had the entire sack in my mouth.
Yeah, too bad the podcast got delayed until Saturday.
Right. We're just one day off. That's fine. We can live with that. I have no problem with that. That is totally cool. So we did put out some homework today. We put out just a little bit of stuff for people to focus on. And one of the first things we wanted to talk about is the Hawk 11. So the Hawk 11, which we did 2 years ago on this podcast, we said, cool looking bike, great place to put that Africa Twin motor. We really did, when we saw it was going to be like a CB11, we all thought they were going to use that CB1100 4-cylinder motor. And they didn't. They didn't use that motor. They used the Africa Twin motor. And that's pretty fucking cool. I got to say, as a guy that likes Hondas in general, and I think they're pretty fun and pretty cool, it did hurt me when this bike was not an inline 4-cylinder. Because in the spirit of your 900, your KZ, my brain wanted this bike to be a cafe racer, and that means 4 across the rails. And it wasn't, and it's not. And the interesting thing is they told us about this bike about 3 years ago. And then not to be liars, the fine folks at Honda did in fact launch this bike. They just didn't launch it here. And it's not surprising they didn't launch it here because our numbers don't instill faith in a lot of people, especially when it's a bike that isn't a Harley Davidson or a Harley Davidson clone or anything like that. So it is the kind of thing that I'm happy that it's out and it is coming to America, or at least we have that on good authority. It's hard for us to say what's going to be happening in the future in this economy.
Well, they snuck the DAX in like under the radar. So
well, I think we here at this group we've been talking about the DAX for a long time.
We've been talking about the DAX forever, but they kind of just went, oh, poof.
It did end up in other markets.
Yeah.
And this bike ended up in the Thai market. It ended up in the Japanese market. Yeah. It ended up in the Indian market before it ended up here.
Yeah. But this is not the one with the 156 horsepower, is it?
Honestly, Sleepy, I can't tell. You're going to have to do your own research
it's
on
Africa
this.
Twin.
This is exactly whatever horsepower your Africa Twin makes.
It's like 100.
Okay, so then it's not, because they're saying they're going to drop a super bike at some point with 100.
Whatever your Africa Twin does,
that's what
this does.
Yeah.
Because it's your Africa Twin with different bodywork.
Sure.
Different ergos.
I guarantee it'll be a fun-ass bike to ride.
Oh, yeah.
Well, here's the interesting thing, is when this thing first came out, it came out with a, you ain't never going to pull that shit off, sub $10,000 price tag when you converted the yen to the US dollar. And pretty much everybody on the planet all had one thing in common. They all said, there ain't no way you're ever going to make that shit happen in US dollars. Mm-hmm. But here's something to make you feel pretty good. This bike's stablemate, as you know, is the Rebel 1100. And the price that this bike is being sold in Japan is $9,930 odd dollars. The price that the Rebel is being sold in Japan is about $9,200, which is exactly the price that it's being sold for retail here in the United States. So unless they're planning on really screwing us on this particular bike, the price should carry through because the yen to dollars conversion, Japanese market Rebel 1100 to US market Rebel 1100, it washes. It's only about 1% off. So this is not vaporware. This is a motorcycle you can buy in 11 different countries.
I'll tell you what, I bet you it's pretty fun because I think the Africa Twin with the 21-inch wheel hampers you with like really hammering through the turns. Mm-hmm. But I think it actually pulls through the turns better than the BMW I have. Like that motor's torquey. It's fun motor for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, torquey motor.
Yeah.
So I do think that, one, what do we know? Well, we know the motor family is EPA compliant. Mm-hmm. We know the motor family is NHTSA compliant. We know the chassis and the brakes and the suspension are already NHTSA compliant. And this is a bike that the Africa Twin and the Rebel 11 both sell in the United States with no problem.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you have the Africa Twin motor and it's compliant, and it was a 1,000cc version, can you then punch it out, or do you have to get a whole
Africa
new?
Twin, is the Africa Twin 108
Well, mine's 1,000. The new one's 1,100. So that's what I'm saying. Did they have to redo the whole NHTSA thing to go that extra 100
Probably
cc's? Not. So do you think that they could do
Well, no, I don't need to give you a probably. They don't.
Really?
So if you make a minor alteration in the motor family, change something minor about the bore of the stroke, that's okay. That's going to be considered within a certain percentages. You don't have to go through full NHTSA qualification all over again.
That's cool.
Right, because the motor family is still the motor family.
Well, then, yeah.
So if you have a 250cc and you bump that bike to 300, then you're fine.
So I bet you they changed something a little bit just to change the performance. Like,
well, I mean, this is, we always joke. It's, the Africa Twin is probably tuned for bottom end, probably tuned for torque.
Sure.
On the bottom end, this might be tuned for giggle factor.
Him, Chris?
At 10,000, right?
Straw Dog picked up a Janus.
Oh, really?
A Janus.
A Janus.
He said, I guess I guess that at 65 years old, I've come back to small CC bike. First in 40 years, I picked up a Janus 250 Halcyon.
Right.
Well,
cool.
So I asked him, new or used, because there's quite a few of them.
There's quite a few out there, yeah.
And he says new.
Right on.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, he's got a direct line right now to the Janus specialist.
That's right. That's exactly it.
He literally has, this is the directest line as you can get.
I promise you, we have cut our teeth with some Janus bikes, man. Yeah. We feel very confident diving into those machines.
This podcast is full of Jani.
It is Jana. Yeah, that is true.
I've like I said, I'm a convert. I like them.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool little bike.
Yeah, I'm definitely in that.
Don't apologize.
That's a cool bike, man. I dig it. Yep, that is a cool.
I think it's
bike.
more of a. I don't think it's an apology. I think it's more of a
a kudos.
Yeah.
And now just one for our folks.
You explained it
Backhanded
perfectly.
compliment.
You explained it perfectly. It's the perfect little bike when you want to start a conversation in a group of people.
Of old men.
Like I said, I drove it less than 5 miles and I got stopped 3 times by people who were like, "What is that? It's the coolest thing ever."
Oh yeah. I now for my 2 cents, if anybody in Honda's listening, red.
Oh yeah.
You guys
it has to be the
quit with the horse shit. Quit dicking around. I don't care about dark blue. I don't care about charcoal gray.
Gaudy ass red, white, and blue.
Honda
They
red,
always
white,
do that well
absolutely.
too.
Honda red, white, and blue.
I could also go white, just bright white.
Yeah,
That's true too.
Yep.
Right? I get it.
not for Honda.
I like white.
Honda.
How about? Excuse me. I can't. Wait a second. I can't remember the color. It's the blue CB750 color, but I want to. What's the right coat? It's the candy sapphire blue.
The candy sapphire blue
with a gold stripe.
Yeah.
Oh no! It should be that weird CB350 piss green.
Okay.
That's cyber piss green.
What's that?
That weird CB350.
It's no, Tom. The color's called Benelli TNT 135 green. We all know the color.
That's
that's called.
That's too bright.
That's called Kawasaki Versys green.
Oh, Kawasaki.
Yeah, that was that weird metallic Honda green they had that was like literally like cyber piss green.
You're correct. There were some of them.
That was the 550 though.
Or
wasn't
gold. No, the CB354 came in it.
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter because this is the color it should be. So we're not going to get
you're
lost.
talking
on
about
the
the 354,
That's the color
I
it
like
should
that.
be.
I like
Everyone
that.
else can just.
Well, the black should be blue in the front though.
Right.
and the rim should be
Fuck that
fucking
up.
gold. So,
Yeah.
all
What
right.
the
Right.
fuck's wrong with that?
This is workable.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I'd take that.
You said
That's
red.
cool.
I said white. I mean, bam. That's it. Right there.
That's it right there, man. Yeah.
Bickety bam.
Yeah. That,
That tickles all the right spots. in
I
that
understand what you're doing, and you're going to make us buy the wrong color for the first 2 years. And then you're going to make the color correct to convince people that didn't like it on the first go round how correct it was. Because what they're doing is they're emulating the 1983 Bold Ors, the CB1100Fs, and all that stuff.
Well, then it should be blue and silver.
They made those too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made those too.
No.
Yeah. But,
If they would have put red forks on it.
the very simple rule is if it's going to be Honda race team, then it should be red and white, right? And every time I see a Moto Guzzi V85 TT, I just want it to look like a pack of Marlboro cigarettes.
Yeah.
Or I want it to be a John Play, a
right.
Lucky
Player
Strike.
special.
Sorry, Lucky
Lucky
Strike
Strike.
bike. Right. That's just because that's
I thought
what
that was the Kajiva elephant, though.
it was.
Yeah.
Can you buy a Kajiva Elephant?
No.
Then you're out of the conversation. I can buy a Moto Guzzi 850 TT. So if I can buy a Moto Guzzi
I think they are doing a
850
new,
TT, and I've already had one of my customers do the Lucky Strike livery, and it looks fantastic. And if you tell stupid people it's a Kajiva Elephant, they're probably going to believe you. Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, but yeah, I think a Guzzi 850 TT with a Lucky Strike thing on the side, gorgeous. Just absolutely gorgeous.
That's every time I see a racing 60s Vespa, too. So
Yeah. A Racing 60s Vespa. I don't see the red and white
They have that
as
good-
being like
they have that
Lola
gold
or anything
stripe,
else.
yeah.
I see that
that's
as being Lucky Strike.
that's a pack of cigarettes.
That just needs a pack of cigarettes right on it. And shame on Vespa for missing that.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. They could have just called it the Lucky Stripe.
Lucky Strike.
As an interruption here, Redneck says, as to compete with a Hawk, some manufacturer will need to announce a bike named after an animal that kills hawks.
They did.
So we got an eagle or an owl coming.
An eagle or an
That's
egret. Well, that's the Hayabusa.
math here.
Yeah.
So the Hayabusa, Suzuki said, Honda has their Super Hawk.
Yeah.
We're going to build a motorcycle that's going to kill the Super Hawk.
Or was it the Blackbird?
The Super Blackbird.
Blackbird.
You're right.
Yeah,
Thank you. You're
yeah.
right. Honda had their Super Blackbird, right? And so Suzuki went, well, what bird kills the Super Blackbird? Well, the Hayabusa does. And so the Hayabusa is the bird that killed.
We're gonna get down to like Ricky Tikki Tavi. That's gonna be like one of the bikes.
Nah.
Like, isn't
The
that
mongoose?
Yeah, the
And then-
mongoose, because he
right,
kills
right.
the fucking snakes and
Again,
stuff, right?
I must say, as a guy that's been a ferret guy my life, the first time I saw a mongoose, I was like, well, that's too small to be a mongoose. I didn't realize how tiny they were.
Oh wow, all right.
I had no idea. I
yeah.
thought they were more substantial. I thought they were bigger.
My mongoose experience was a cartoon on TV, so I just remember that.
They're just smaller than I thought they were going to be. That's all there is to it. When I'm traveling in the islands and they're like, oh, yeah, that thing that ran right in front of us. I was like, you mean that underfed chipmunk? He goes, no, that's a mongoose. I was like, no, that's not a mongoose. I had a bicycle was a mongoose.
Right.
They weren't emulating that little fucker. Yeah, they were. That was it.
Wow.
That's all it was.
So Straw Dog says that his Janus just ticked over 7,777 miles.
Dang.
Ding dang.
And I asked him, I said, what's your build number? Because I'm 376.
That's how you know you're deep in the family.
Yeah, he's 769. He's 3 years old on that. So very,
okay.
very, very nice. He's running it.
How many miles you got on yours there, Smith?
I've got 7,200, 7,300.
Well done.
something like that.
Nice job, man.
Yeah.
You are going to pass up the miles I have on my Harley. And my Harley's a 2013.
Okay.
And you're going to blow right past me on that bike. Because I don't ride. I was realizing when I put that bike up for winter this year, I was like, wow, man, I rode that bike 1,300 miles this year. Not even. Not even. It is. I'm definitely riding the scooters a lot more these days. And I'm also riding the bikes that I like to call transient bikes. Bikes that are mine for now. Yeah. Bikes that are mine for now. They might not be mine forever, but they're mine for now. So the second item that I wanted to call attention to is just a weird fucking motorcycle. And what in my opinion makes it weird is, and I'm not trying to give this company any publicity. They don't need any. They're doing quite well without me.
Oh, yeah.
But what is giving me and what is curious to me and interesting to me is that this is an interesting looking motorcycle.
There's a lot of interesting things about this motor.
There are a lot. Yeah, you're not kidding. There's a lot of interesting parts of this motorcycle. And this is the CF Moto Voom.
It's got 2 round headlights.
VOOM. But it would be one thing if those round headlights were just headlights. But they're not just headlights.
Tell me more.
Those round things are where it snorts the Schneef.
Oh,
Those round things
air intakes.
are the air intakes. I'm positively tickled about the fact that those round things are actually air induction. And so that's where the other half of your power package goes. And then the lights are the rings around them. Bizarre, man.
that work?
Just, I have no freaking idea.
Projector LEDs, man.
Projector
you can
LEDs
do anything you
or
want with them.
something, but I'm thinking, no, you know what it is? It's the big giant thing under the lights.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's a headlight?
The big thing under the lights is the light. So the headlight is the thing that looks like it's going,
You know what sucks? It's like they kind of were like, okay, guys, we've been hearing all these guys saying they want a throwback bike, and
Right.
then they fucked it all
So
up.
that weird bump on the passenger set pad.
oh no, the passenger seat
It's just
to me,
weird.
It's offensive.
it's
Does that flip
a
up? or
solid
That is-
7
that is
inches
my
higher
question.
than the driver's seat. Now,
it's a
since I'll never
cooler.
have a passenger on the back of the bike, it doesn't matter.
No, but it's a cooler. It has to be.
something happens with it?
So Phil,
to be a cooler. It can't be.
so Phil, I
That
have
flips out for a second passenger.
second passenger. But okay, Phil, I'm gonna pose something to you.
Okay, all right. I'm paying attention.
20 years ago, when the CF Moto fashion was all the rage, did you think 20 years ago we would be talking about CF Moto as a real manufacturer?
Absolutely not.
No, but
absolutely not.
But let's look at this for a second. So, like, they have the tubes like an FZR 600 or an early ZX7. So they kind of bring that in as a thing.
Yep.
Then they have the dual headlight, but not really.
Yep.
Then they put a muffler back, like an old school muffler on it.
I actually love where they put the muffler.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I
It's back
love
to like
where they
where a
put the
muffler
muffler.
should be.
There's some interesting there.
I love that. I think they just
wheels look
nailed
cool.
that one.
Yeah, the
like
tail
the-
is just terrible.
That is, yeah.
What is that thing where your pointer is on? Is that like a thing that you buy at the auto parts store to give yourself the fake fender vent things?
Let's look
The
at it a little
Chrysler,
closer.
the M300
Yeah,
bar.
just put a little piece of plastic chrome right there.
I cannot tell you, but what I can tell you is
holes on a Buick.
Yeah.
I don't hate this. There's enough retro happening there that I'm like, oh yeah, I like that. And I know that the headlights aren't headlights. I know they're air intakes because I can see the giant tubes going in to the airbox.
yeah.
And I know they're ram air or, some sort of assisting you with trying to be.
Potentially functional?
This
Potentially
totally
functional.
looks like if the anime, like in 1996, if like, you were buying a new ZX7 and you were buying an anime comic book, this would be like the anime version of the ZX7.
Yeah, it does look like a transformer because those rings in the front and there's like a mouth underneath of it. It looks like a screamy face.
Yeah,
And
it
the thing
totally
like
does.
unfold into like a skeleton or something.
Now, here's my thing is that in a completely not Chinese thing to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is okay. If I told you this was a 500cc Chinese motorcycle, you would immediately tell me that it either has 1 or 2 cylinders.
Sure.
Nobody would expect that it has 4 cylinders.
Well, I saw the
I
pipe.
see I see at least 3 pipes under there.
Yeah. And that it's running a 63 mil bore and a 40 mil stroke. That is over square like a motherfucker. Okay.
Wait, how many cc's is this?
500. Wow. And it's 78 Hurspers.
John's like,
Okay. And it's 430 pounds. So I did not see a 16 valve 4-cylinder with a 16,000 RPM redline coming out of China. I just didn't see that coming. I didn't. I thought they were kind of sticking into the 1-cylinder, 2-cylinder, 1-cylinder, 2-cylinder. I just wasn't thinking a high RPM, spinny, 16 valves. And
And I mean, who would they? Okay, so if CF Moto is just stealing other people, like who did they build that motor? That nobody else has that. That's not something they stole from somebody that they were building for KTM or something. Like
correct.
They built that all themselves.
And this bike's competitor is the Kawasaki Ninja 400 4-cylinder. But the Kawasaki Ninja 400 4-cylinder is 10K on your best day. And this is slightly more powerful than that. Not much, slightly, all right? And this does weigh 12 pounds more than the track-ready Ninja 400 4-cylinder, but that ain't much. That ain't much.
well, this is going to weigh 130 pounds less if you're taking it to the track because you get rid of the cooler.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking about taking this to the track, man. There was no part of me that was thinking about taking this to the track. This is just a good-looking motorcycle. It is not nearly as boring looking to me as the 400 Ninja. The 400 Ninja to me looks, it looks like exactly what it is.
And you know what? Here's something that I'll give a credit to until I see it. We're looking at that tail thinking it looks horrible the way it is right there, but with the person on it, it might maybe not look that bad. Right. You know what I mean? Sometimes like it's designed to have an ass in there.
But look at the Ninja there. I mean, it's got the same,
Well, the Ninja's
same
tail
level of step up.
is much higher and at a steeper, more ridiculous angle.
Yeah.
So if you put a passenger on that Ninja tail, well, now you're not sitting on a block of foam, you're sitting on a wedge of foam. And it's a wedge that's going exactly the wrong way.
Yeah.
Maybe they want, the thing is you want the passenger. Okay, so you put your chick on the back.
Yeah.
She has to be able to see over top of your helmet so she has a good view.
Who said that?
I did.
Okay. All right.
Well, plus you don't want her hitting the back of your helmet.
That's the only, that's the punishment.
Mark Kenyon said that the looks like Anakin Skywalker goggles from
It does.
pod racing.
It does. Yes, it does. Yeah, and those, but circles and circles, man. If you want my attention, you just got it.
Peggy always headbutts me with her helmet and then yells at me for braking.
You know what, Peggy? Next time we'll try not braking and see what happens.
I have to brake them. I have to stop. What you can do is keep yourself from going kabap.
Right.
And,
yeah.
and I don't even yell at you.
Right.
You're yelling at me for headbutting me.
I think the kabap is why Merritt kind of has said, you know what, I'm just not going to be on the back of the bike anymore. She's kind of, it's not my decision to not have Merritt on the back of the bike. It's kind of her decision. Sort of just the way she goes. Here's a better picture of the side for anybody who was interested.
Brian Lewis says CF Moto also has a triple coming out as well. I think it's a 675-ish.
That's true. And that's definitely something that's going to land. Let me make sure the guys get this picture at home so they can see it. There is a 675 triple coming out with a six. Yeah, with
Are
the
they
CF
trying to
Moto
go
tag.
after Triumph with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Was there a price teased on this one?
There wasn't. I didn't see it, but I'm sure if I dug deep enough, I'm sure I could find it. Let me see if they give a tease. I'm just going to pop up in the article a little bit. The byline is, if CF Moto can price this right, U.S. riders will be all over it. That's kind of their deal. That's what they're saying is, pricing to be found later. The 675 sport bike is purely just for Sleepy. In this room, not too many people in this room are going to go bonkers for the 675 sport bike, but it does apparently has quite a bit of aero on it.
Oh, I want to see.
Yeah. So Sleepy likes aero.
Yeah.
Let's pull this up here for Sleepy to take a look at. It is very much a sport bike.
Oh, that's pretty. Wow.
I told you.
I mean, that's a track bike right there, dude. How much is this thing?
I think it is definitely a track bike.
Yeah.
And that has the definition of
$195 a month. It is.
that has the definition of the Marquis de Sade passenger seat as well. Ain't nobody going to give that bike a second.
The Marquis de Sodomy.
Yeah, nobody's going to jump on that bike a second time. No, I'm going to go ahead and throw it up so the guys at home can see it. And that is the 675 SR. I
don't even see passenger pegs, so that's not a.
That's the point. Yeah, I definitely didn't see any passenger pegs. That's for sure. And I was going to comment about that. CB or the Hawk 11 is the back seat of the Hawk 11 looks pretty tiny, but it does in fact have passenger pegs. So again, I wish there was just a little bit more to the back of that motorcycle. This one, I don't see passenger pegs. Maybe somebody else does, but I certainly don't. Not on this
That thing looks nice. It looks like it has like disc vent, like suckers in the front.
It definitely has some passive aero going down into the braking assemblies, and there's definitely giant fucking wings right above the front tire.
Gotta have the wings,
huge
man.
freaking wings.
I fucking love wings. I do, dude. I don't know.
With honey mustard sauce, man, this is the best.
Wings, man.
He likes cauliflower
I'm
wings.
going to AutoZone. I'm sticking them fuckers
Have you tried
on
boat
everything.
aged wings?
Yeah,
Boat-aged wings. That's a.
Hey, Jefferson's, I sent you guys the link. I don't even drink anymore, and I follow this stuff. It's becoming more and more popular. $100 a bottle for Jefferson's boat-aged whiskey. Thank you very much.
There is a video. If you go to Ride Apart, or if you go to CF Moto's website, you can see that the video of them running a couple of laps on the 675. We're not gonna show it on the main screen because we've been gigged for that before, so we're just not gonna do that. But it is definitely a sport bike. It absolutely is a track bike, but it's street legal. It's got all the street legal stuff on it. So yay, that's the thing. CF Moto's just kind of, they're getting people's attention, man. They're not screwing around. They're doing something. So I'm starting to have to, it hurts me to say how cool that Chinese bike looks.
Let me say,
Still does.
Transistorized radios will never catch on.
Exactly. Yeah.
with everything that happened this week with the furthering of KTM, what do you think about how much more do you think CF Moto is going to get involved now that KTM is like publicly struggling again?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Nothing into it.
That's been the back and forth. This week, the past 2 weeks, I've heard stories about how Perrier is doing this just as a financial restructuring, and he's got billions of dollars in the bank, and he doesn't need to go into any sort of chapter bankruptcy. He can afford to not do it, but he's going to do it because it's a safety net, and it's a great way for him to distance himself from some of his financial responsibilities as he changes the shape of KTM into something that's more profit-based as opposed to racing and passion-based, because racing's really, really expensive.
So this is called enshittification, which has become a thing.
Yeah, that is definitely a thing.
And so you might as well just go ahead and buy a CF Moto rather than a KTM at this point.
Well, again, we were talking about
they did it to themselves.
The CF Moto Adventure 650 that's now $4,299 at our local CF Moto dealer. Right. I said again, $4,299 for a 650cc motorcycle.
So you literally can ride this thing for 2 years, and you probably can. and throw it into the local ditch.
Perhaps.
And be okay.
Yeah. But that thing is like, if that's not the experience you want to have with a motorcycle, go get yourself a Versys 650.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and buy a 3-year-old Versys 650 and you can keep it for 15 years and get sick of looking at it, and sell it to somebody else still perfectly running.
Any V-Strom 650 will get 1,100 billion miles.
Oh, yes, by all means.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's that difference. And it's challenging because it is like, oh, this is very tempting, you know, but I just don't know if I want to be there. I don't want it to be, well, you know, all the best motorcycles in America come from China.
This is one of those things is like somebody out there has to be doing high mileage. Pete, how do you feel about doing high mileage testing of Chinese adventure bike? I mean, because we have the one from Pete's brother.
Let me ask you this, Phil. And this is no way getting political. I'm not trying to bring politics into this. But considering that the tariff situation is a real thing that we might be dealing with, how much is that going to dig into?
I can pause you on that. I can help you with that.
Yeah.
A guy who, like him or hate him, has been known to lie about something. Mm-hmm. Okay. He says a lot of things.
Just deploy them.
He says a lot of things to make the cameras point at him, and he says things. So he says things, the camera points at him. Sometimes those things turn out to be true. The vast majority of times, they turn out to be not true.
I think also sometimes it's ripening up the negotiations.
Of course it is. Yeah. That's exactly it. Okay. But here's what I can promise you. The 25% Canadian tariff is part of the bread in a sandwich. The 25% Mexican tariff is the other part of the bread in the sandwich. What was the meat in the middle of the sandwich that he was talking about? 10% for China. You guys don't realize it, or maybe you do, and you just haven't said anything because you want to make me look stupid. But we've been living with a 10% tariff on Chinese motorcycles for the past 4 years. Yes, we have. I know. I sell them at my shop. I pay that tariff. Every time I buy a Royal Alloy, every time I buy a genuine Rattler 200cc, every time I buy a genuine G400C, I am paying a 10% tariff to the manufacturer. The manufacturer paid a 10% tariff to pick it up at the dock. He's passing that price along to me, and I promise you all, I am passing it along to you.
Right.
Because every manufacturer that sells me the device that came from China is charging me a 10% tariff. And if you don't think that tariff is another word for tax, then you need to come and hang out at my shop for a week. and go into my shop and read the price sheet on the front of any of those Chinese bikes that says freight, $500, assembly, $240, tariff, whatever the fucking tariff is. Well, and I put the tariff on a line item on the sheet because that's what they want you to do. They want you to give the consumer the option to buy something that is not tariffed.
Well, the thing about tariffs is, like you say, it's a tax. When they collect the tariff, where does it go?
To government.
To the government. It doesn't go to, okay, we're collecting a 10% tariff on Chinese motorcycles. We're going to take that 10% tariff and we're going to give it to American companies who are manufacturing motorcycles to actually help them.
To retraining programs for lost industry.
We're just going to try to punish the Chinese, but we're going to take all the profit out of that.
Yeah, well, it's the idea of this disincentivizing buying something that isn't produced by an American company that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, but you could have the double effect of not only are you disincentivizing Chinese motorcycles, you're helping prop up American motorcycles.
Oh, yeah.
I have one simple task for you right now. Leave my shop today. And go buy an American-made toaster.
Yep.
And when you
washing machine or microwave or anything
there's
else.
a separate tax on washing machines. Buy an American-made toaster. And when you found that American-made toaster and you make the decision to buy that American-made toaster, you will have dodged the 10% tariff.
Yep.
You will have saved the $3. If you think that tariff on that toaster is going to be enough to make you say, no, darling, I'm not going to buy the $49 toaster. The American-made toaster is $397. We're going to buy the American-made toaster for $397 because I do not want to pay that $4 tariff. And if you tell me that that's going to work and consumers going to do that, I'm going to laugh at you hard.
Honey, we're just going to fix the old one.
Well, that's the best thing. That is and you know what? That would be my answer if it ever could be. Merit has taken to getting her clothing repaired and employing the services of a North Olmsted Romanian-born tailor. Yeah. And so she takes her clothes in there, and when her clothes are, when the elastic's blown out in her skirt or whatever, she's been doing that. She took a pair of her slippers in and had her slippers mended. So she didn't want to contribute to this, decycling, this, throw it away. Well, where the fuck is away? Right. So Merritt's decided.
Oberlin, Ohio.
Right.
The highest point in Oberlin.
I was going to say Oberlin Mountain.
BFI.
Yeah, Oberlin Mountain. And we have one of those in Avon Lake too. And Merritt's kind of putting her money where her mouth is and saying she's not going to buy any new clothes if she can keep fixing her old ones.
That doesn't surprise me one bit.
It doesn't if you know her.
So the answer to your question is the Polytron toaster.
The Polytron toaster
at $285.
Well, that's competitive with the one I saw at Walmart.
Right, at $13.50
for $39 or whatever, right? Yeah. So that's the point.
It actually even manufacture. I mean, I'm still even skeptical even at that.
Well, I mean, the next best one was like $1,250, but that's like an industrial grade.
And we learned when we were doing our "I Dare You to Buy Your Shit in America" podcast 10 years ago. The only helmet that we could find that was made in America was only made in America to satisfy law enforcement contracts and fire department contracts that said that their items had to be made in America. And they had a guaranteed lock that they were going to sell 2,000 helmets next year. But those helmets were $750 for a shorty.
Yeah.
Now, if you say, I'm going to spend the $750 because I don't want to pay the 10% tariff on the $49 Chinese helmet, well, then you're a better consumer than I am, Gunga Din, because I'm not going to fucking do that. I'm not going to spend $750 for a helmet I'm going to be able to wear for 5 years, tops, and it's a shorty, right? It's a shorty cop helmet. So I think that tariff is only doing one thing, and that is saying you're going to buy the Chinese products anyway, because there are no American products that compete with it at a 10% delta. So if there's not a similar choice for you to go to, you're still going to buy the Chinese product. You're going to spend an extra 10% for it. And that 10% is going to go into the pocket of the people who need it the very most, the U.S. government.
Well,
because we don't build enough F-35s.
We do need another Gerald Ford floating down in the Gulf.
Well, so that's my idea. That's my take on it. You don't think it's
going to hurt? I mean, whatever.
What's that?
It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt everyone.
But it's not as bad. Okay.
Well,
it's whatever taxes you're paying Sleepy now.
Yeah.
You've been paying a 10% tax on motorcycles.
Right.
You just weren't aware of it because when the news cycle came out and guys like me started charging you an extra 10% on the motorcycles, because we've all been doing it. I can tell you every time I pay an invoice for the bikes I order from Genuine, there's a tariff on there. And that tariff has been around for more than a few years. All those G400Cs had tariffs on them, right? And so it's just a continuation of that.
Well,
and it is not helping make people go, you know what, I was going to buy that G400C, but that tariff, I'm going to buy that Harley now.
Gotcha.
And that is not what has happened. I can tell you there's been not one single customer in my shop that said, I'd really like to buy that G400C, but because of that fucking tariff, I'm going to go buy the Harley.
I'm going to go buy the
equal product.
Indian Harley.
Right.
But that's the thing. Like if you had an equal product for equal prices,
then it would be different.
Then because that's kind of the...
that's exactly right. But that's not what's happening.
Yeah. So, does the average Joe customer, though, when he comes into your shop to look at the Genuine motorcycle, does he even question whether there's a tariff on it or not? He just sees how much it costs and says, I'm willing to pay that or I'm not willing to pay that. But he's not breaking it down the way...
because I am the guy that I am, I put it on the ticket. So I put it on the talking sheet. If you come into my shop and look at the handlebars of my bikes, on certain bikes in my showroom, you're going to see the word tariff, and it's in black print. Wow. It's not small. I'm not hiding it with little asterisks that points around to the back. The point is, if my manufacturers are forcing me to charge you that, then I'm going to throw it back on them and say, hey, pal, because that tariff wasn't designed to fuck me. It's a pass-through. Okay? You're not going to find a retailer that's going to go, well, there's a 10 or 25% tariff on washing machines. I guess we're just going to eat 25% of our profit margin. Best Buy or Home Depot didn't eat 25% of their margin when there's a 25% tariff on washing machines. No, what they did was they raised the price of their washing machines 25%. So it's a pass-through. Well, it's going ultimately to the consumer.
It'll be interesting also to see if sales slow down
Yeah.
because of the 25% tariff, and or if, hey, come on in, we got 25% off.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
there's a lot of ways that they can play with it.
The other flip of this coin, no American manufacturer that exists right now that is going to build a two-wheeled vehicle is going to build a scooter to compete with a Chinese scooter. So this is where we're coming at too. Nobody's going to build a scooter in America because you can't. There is no method to build. There's no manufacturing ability, nothing to build a competitive scooter with something you can get out of China for less than the 10% increase in taxes you're going to pay on this bike.
I was raised to never say can't.
Redonk asks, what's the Harley import tax to India again?
Right.
What is it?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't that you were saying is 100% or something like that?
It's usually very high. It's between 50 and 100%.
But this is also why
that's why they're
Harley
building
has-
the bikes in India.
But
Exactly.
here's my thing is, okay, so what about automation?
Right.
So what if these motorcycles are, by and large, I mean, okay, so China has supposedly cheap labor, but they do have cheap labor. But, I mean, at a certain point, isn't automation just going to wipe all that out? And it's going to be like, well, I mean, it's going to be basically 3D printed here, or it could be 3D printed there. So what difference does it make? Why not have it 3D printed here, and then you don't have to ship it on a boat?
Because we're not quite at 3D printing whole motorcycles
Yeah,
yet.
we're pretty close. I mean, with robots and stuff like that, you wouldn't have to have a super labor intensive production line, even right now.
So what you're saying is we're not going to create any more American jobs by taxing people 10% on everything because we're just going to go with automation.
Absolutely not. The jobs across the world are going to humans are becoming redundant by the second.
Yep. So stop having babies.
AI in 10 years is going to wipe out billions and billions of jobs.
Absolutely. Human resources, you're on the list.
So you guys remember a little motorcycle company called Can-Am?
Yeah.
No, I've never heard of them.
Bombardier?
Oh, those guys. Yeah, they
Polaris.
build airplanes.
Right? They build jet skis and they build Sea-Doos,
Jet
right?
skis, yeah.
And so they just rolled out their first motorcycle in 40 years,
Yeah.
and it's electric.
Yeah.
And they're doing two different versions of it.
But you didn't say boogie woogie woogie.
I was implied. The boogie oogie oogie was implied.
Oogie.
And the thing about this is, I will point my I'll point my plucky browser at the fine folks of the factory that are all standing there raising their hands in celebration of their launch of their first Can-Am motorcycle to roll off the assembly lines since 1984 or something.
They'll all be unemployed in a couple of years.
Yep.
Well, there's a wrinkle there because they're Mexicans. This bike is 100% built in Mexico.
Yep.
It's a Mexican machine.
Yep.
It is a Mexican machine. That's what it does. Now, here's the problem. If 25% tariff happens from Mexico, the problem was this particular motorcycle would have been $16,000. I'm sorry, $14,000, and would have been very, very competitive with other electric motorcycles that are out there. Mm-hmm. The problem is you add a 25% tariff to this beast, and it's now $20,000. And it has ceased being financially competitive with other bikes that are in its category. So this bike then suffers a huge lack of competitiveness with a lot of its other products, the most of which, and I have to tell you, are Chinese. So you have a bike that at its $14,000 price point for its performance level and its range was pretty much normal, and that's standard what you'd expect to get for your 14K. The problem is you make this bike 20K, and now it costs twice as much as its Chinese competitor. And now we have a problem because this company, BRP, Polaris, Bombardier, Can-Am, that is a company that is an American, albeit Mexican or Canadian, depending on which of their facilities you're standing in, is now going to get beaten, at least in this market, by that tariff. They may thrive in other markets, but in this market, the consumer is going to say, fuck you, I'm going to save 10 grand and go buy the Chinese one that has exactly the same specs.
So I might be stupid on this, but
Go ahead.
If you're a company that has a division in Mexico and a division here.
Nope, not here, Canada.
No, but I'm not saying whatever, but anybody.
okay.
But like, so would you be charged a tariff to move your own shit from one place to the other?
Oh, damn. Damn.
Oh, what's that about John Deere again getting
Yeah.
100% tariff
That's
when they
John
move
Deere.
all their shit to Mexico?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is that conversation.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right.
So
that's what it is, right?
Yep.
Like that. Yeah, you can't do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I think that's very viable.
I used to work for a company that dealt with John Deere and Case and New Holland and all that stuff, and they were all about globalism. They were like,
Oh, yeah.
because we were doing injection molding, and they would be like, well, our price model, this is what we came up with, and you look at it, and it's like, well, you're going to have a machine shop in Brazil.
Right.
First, the molds are going to get molded in Paraguay. They're going to get sent to Brazil for machine work. They're going to go. And you've built the cheapest possible way to build this, but it has to get shipped from 6 different countries back to here, and then we mold it, and it's like.
And then can you imagine if there was like an error?
And then it gets here, and you start molding it, and you're like, oh, it's not right. It has to get sent back to Brazil to get reworked.
Yeah.
And then that's when they're like, well, is there a local machine shop that can do the work? And they're like, yeah, there was, but now they're out of business because you sent the business to Brazil.
Yeah.
So right now, this tariff and this 25% tariff in this, we're talking about it because that was the intention. The intention was to say something bombastic and make people talk about it. And we are doing that. We're talking about it right now. I'm also calling attention. I think it's kind of cool that Can-Am built a kick-ass electric motorcycle.
Yeah.
So, for what it's worth, I think that's pretty neat.
Any manufacturer, any legacy manufacturer is going to build an electric bike that's going to catch on. It could be and should be Can-Am.
The pictures you just brought up now look 1,000 times better than the other one. The other one looked like a little mini bicycle thing, but that one that you showed before this dirt bike one, that looked like a real bike.
It is a real bike.
Yeah, that looks nice.
It's full scale.
Yeah.
It's full scale setup.
Because as much as
it doesn't have a passenger seat, though. I have to tell you, that's one of my fucking pain in the dicks about this motorcycle. Is it's it runs 17-inch wheels. It's it's normal in that way. It's not a partial scale. It's not like the Land, or it's not like the Super 73 or some of the small, basically glorified mini bike size bikes. This is a full size machine, but and that's good that there's options out there, because the Zero full-size machine, you get into the Zero full-size machine, you're staring at $20K.
Yeah.
Right? You're looking at $20K. And even if you get into like the one Hofford had, the FX, FXS or FXE, on those bikes,
Still has.
right, you're looking at $12K. You're looking at 12. And that's essentially a dirt bike or a supermo that's going to give you tops 75 to 80 mile range, and an 88 mile an hour top speed. That's where this is. That's where the price point is on this, or that's where the range is on this. It's a good. I mean, it's got the right stuff. It's definitely got the right stuff, but it's going to hurt it a lot if it costs $4,000 more. I don't think anybody would walk right out and buy one. Because you're spending an extra $4,000 on nothing, just a tariff.
Hey,
right?
Big Ben asked, does the secret hotline number still work?
It does. If he has it, then it does still work. It's still functioning. So, and if he doesn't have it, he can contact me. He can send me a message. You can send it to clevelandmoto@gmail.com, and I'll make sure you get that number. We did change that number, but if you text me on that number, it will work, Ben. That hotline number is alive and well.
Yeah. None of this would matter if we hadn't spent the past 40 years disassembling American manufacturing.
Well, and somebody said it was going to hurt. Someday this is going to hurt you.
Yeah.
John Stossel, The Fleecing of America.
Right.
30 years ago.
Yeah. Somebody said this is going to hurt you. When this lands, it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Was that 2020 or whatever? John Stossel.
Well, I mean, Ross Perot basically said giant sucking sound.
Giant sucking sound was the quote. that was the big quote. That was the quote of the day.
And now it all sucks.
All right. So who likes knobby tires? I do. I like knobby tires. I think knobby tires are super fun and interesting.
Best thing I ever put on my buddy.
I like knobby tires. And
I like that knobby tire.
And I also like Continental. So it gave me great concern. It gave me great concern when Continental had a bit of a problem with their TKC 80s and made a pretty big recall a little while ago. And, nobody wants to hear that their tires are getting recalled. But, I will say that
I loved that news myself.
What's that?
I loved that news.
Yeah, because certain people figured out a way to game that system.
I cornered the market on used TKC 80s. Takeoffs. I was getting them Craigslist.
You're calling every dealer in the area, asking if they got any TKC 80s in their pile?
Yes.
Can I come and raid your dead tire pile and just count on there being some TKC 80s in there? So
I didn't buy a tire for like 2 seasons.
Now that all the blood's dry, Pete, can you explain to people at home what we're talking about?
So the TKC80, which is a stalwart of the adventure riding world, it's one of the OG tires. It was a DOT. Sure. It's basically a DOT knobby.
And I will try to tell you, it is. You look at this thing and you're like, how can that be DOT? It's just a strikingly knobby tire.
And they perform admirably well on the road. I mean, you're not going to like ride it like a super bike or anything, but they do grip on the road and they do decent enough off road. And it's the perfect balance of a tire at the cost of longevity. I never got more than, I think I might have got 3,500 out of a rear one time, but usually they were gone by 2,500. But if I'm going on a BDR type trip, I'll spoon on a brand new pair of them before I leave, and they do well. Getting to the trail, doing the trail, getting home.
Yep. Yeah. And we took a set of these tires and completely put them on the wrong motorcycle. We took a set of these tires and put them on a Zero SRF with over 168 pounds-feet of torque, a full-on sport bike, and put these tires on it, and the Zero didn't break them loose, which to me was shocking because the Bosch traction control system that's on the Zero electric motorcycles is so good that when it detects anything at all, it modifies the power output. So I was thinking, okay, well, the Bosch stability control system is doing its job very well. So what's happening is I'm not feeling the loss of traction. I'm not feeling the slip, but it's going to be costing me in 0 to 60 times, right? And so I did the test. I posted up in the video. You can go watch the video. But even with the TKC80s on the bike still went from 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds on the tarmac. So that means the TKC80s were doing their job. And they weren't acting like knobby tires. They were acting like motorcycle tires. And I've had these on several bikes, and they are amazing. And what Pete says, though, is absolutely true, is you're going to get half the lifespan on this tire of any normal non-open block knobby tire that you're running. But they are aggressive. Well, what they did was they fixed them. So after a very long and I'm sure painful, thanks to Pete, rebate campaign.
Let's get to the reason. Helping them. He was collecting up all those old tires and getting them turned in.
I was doing my part by getting those dangerous tires out of circulation.
You're basically a patron saint of tires.
Yes. So they did have a recall because some of the knobs were developing cracks. And this was a self-imposed recall. It wasn't something that...
No DOT or NHTSA got involved. This was purely them. Just quality control.
And it was only certain sizes, too.
It was. Yep.
But they have revamped the compound now, and they're coming out with essentially a TKC80 2.0 version.
They sure are.
After about 35 years, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say the longest running tire of its style. There's been many people come and go. I mean, Mitas, there's been so many different tires that have come out and said, look at us. We're an open block adventure bike tire. And meanwhile, TKC80's just been sitting over there going like, yeah, we did that 20 years ago, man.
Right. Shinko makes a copy of this tire.
Yes, they do.
I think Kenda makes a copy of this tire. Mm-hmm. I've tried a couple of those too, and they're,
I
don't know.
I can tell you my personal experience was I put those Kendas on one of my bikes, rode it 10 miles, was terrified of the lack of dry tarmac grip, and immediately brought the bike back and took them off. Which one? For the Kendas. There was a Duro.
I still have those on my KLR 650, and there are times when I'm like, did the rear end just break loose a little bit? Like, I'm like, these things are, and when I've had them in any kind of mud, it was like, no, don't do that.
Yeah. I had, instead of the TK80s, I always had the Traxinator GPSs.
Correct.
Those were really good.
Is that a Mitas?
No, it's a Moto Z.
That's a Moto Z.
Motas.
Yeah, Motas. Yeah.
But I mean, I got those. I would get 6,000 miles out of those, though. That's why I like them, because the same thing with the 80s would just get.
I think that the TKC80's rubber compound is so fucking soft that it makes this bike confidence inspiring. I borrowed a buddy's Triumph Thruxton and in San Francisco, and this guy had TKC80s on it that only had about an eighth of an inch of tread block left on them. And he had worn them perfectly the whole way. There was no chicken strip on these tires. And so I knew he wasn't afraid to lean the bike over because he had even wear the entire way across the tire. And he handed me the keys and he's like, go. Go have fun, tear it up. You can't hurt this bike. But immediately what I did was, you tried
to hurt that bike.
No, you're trying to kill me, dude. You're giving me a street bike. You're giving me a Triumph Thruxton, which is not a lightweight bike. And you're giving me a Triumph Thruxton that has knobbies on it in the streets of San Francisco where it's never stopped raining. And I thought he was legitimately trying to hurt me. And the bike the bike was a battle-worthy bike. It's a bike that's seen some shit. And I took that thing out, and after 2 hours of getting used to it, I was hanging that bike all over the place. And those were on TKC 80s that anybody else would call worn out. They were down to, the blocks were only about an eighth of an inch high.
Well, once their blocks are completely gone, then it gets really good.
It was not a slick. It was still not a slick, but it was still a TKC 80. And this particular guy is the guy that, he was like, oh no, these are great tires. I've been putting these on for 20 years. These things are amazing.
If I had my druthers, if price were no object,
right,
that's the only tire I would run.
Yeah. Yeah. And good for them. So what they've done is they've reinforced the sidewall on the thing. They've changed the design of the block a little bit to make the blocks less likely to peel apart. Pete, did you hear the Continental guy that said the only reason we're seeing the block separation is because the motorcycles now, like the BMW 1300, have so much torque and so much power that they're putting so much stress on the knobs on hot pavement?
I did not hear that.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent Continental video that they posted.
Well, I can tell you I had block separation on the front tire of my F800.
Oh, you did?
And it wasn't getting that. Obviously, it was a front.
It
wasn't
was just
getting
braking.
that hot, right?
It's just doing braking work. That's interesting. So I did not experience that on the sizes I was running. I did notice that in their new launch of the new sizes, they do not have a size that I'm particularly fond of, which is the 17-inch. Because
it's forthcoming. And I think they said by the second half of next year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I was a little nervous about that. I thought
was too.
Okay. I thought they killed off the 17. So I'm happy to hear that it is planning. They are planning to bring it out because I agree. This is the one, especially if I'm not paying for them. This is my favorite tire in the world. But
what does TKC stand for?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know that I've ever
Total
seen.
Control Continental and the extra K's for cool. Yeah.
Hey, Straw Dog says my Schenko 244 knobbies have almost 8,000 on the front and rear.
Didn't you get crazy mileage out of your Schenkos?
Yeah,
you got crazy mileage.
75,
right?
The Schenko 244 isn't that the Golden Boy? I would say Golden Boy on it sometimes. That's a completely different tire.
Yeah.
Redonk says my local shop won't service Schenko.
Golden Boy is like the low end of Schenko.
We were joking. We used to joke all the time.
I love
when
Golden
Schenko
Boys.
when Schenko was brand new, and they still had the Golden Boy on the side of a lot of their scooter tires.
Yep.
We were like, dude, your tire says Golden Boy on the side. It was like, come on, really?
Hey, Phil.
You're gonna mount up the Golden Boy?
You know what I really miss?
A handsome lad?
You know what I really, 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 really miss? The Sava Crons.
Yeah.
With the reflective stripe.
I still
on
have
the
some at the
side.
shop. I still have some at the shop. I loved those.
God, it was a good tire.
They had a half-inch white wall. Half-inch white wall, but it was Scotch 3M reflective material.
Actually, Schenko makes that, and it's their copy of the TKC 80. I think it's a Schenko 804, maybe.
Do they really?
But you
Challenge accepted.
Oh, it was the best tire
You can get
ever.
it either with or without the reflective.
I love it.
The reflective was a great
And
idea.
then the 7, I've had the Schenko 705s. Those are good. I think that's what's on my Africa Twin right now that I'm going to be changing soon.
I love that idea.
705s are
The
pretty good,
reflective
too.
stripe that Schenko put on those things, you could see it 17 miles away. And it looked cool. Look, your bike looked like a Tron light cycle. When you're going down the road, wow, it looked sharp.
Oh, yeah.
It looked neat. Yeah. Plus the safety factor of cars that are coming from your side to kill you. You got a lot of illumination coming at them.
Yep.
It was really neat.
Cool Brett Cronin says, shit working down here in NZ, New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
New Zealand. I like it.
Neuseeland. Yeah.
When I decided to bug out, I need that guy's info.
He's so far away. He's just not listening to last week's podcast.
He is. Yeah.
just getting there.
Based on the date change and the slowness of the internet.
Correct.
Right.
Slownicity.
There's quite a delay to New Zealand.
He's listening to us tomorrow morning.
Yes. We're going to have to call him and ask him on the podcast.
And he's hungover.
Yeah, but it's all upside down for him.
And
so it's tough.
every time we mention horsepower, the reality is he has
to do
translate it to
math.
sheep.
We're swirling.
No, he does kilowatts, which is
No, to sheep.
0.75.
No,
We're
sheep.
swirling the wrong way for him.
Horse to sheep.
Sheep power.
Sheep power.
Yeah, sheep power.
How many
Yeah.
sheep?
The
Big sheep.
I think that's super cool. I'm glad to have listeners in New Zealand. That's pretty rad, man. Or at least somebody who's even watching us on video
No
right now,
kidding.
which is even better.
Because it's like
how
it's
fucking
like,
cool
what
that
it,
is.
3 in the morning there.
I don't even. You can't even do that.
I think they're
I can't do that
12
math.
hours different.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I was just asking if the clocks went backwards.
The
Like
clocks
1,
do go
2,
backwards.
3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
So Mark Kendon says Shinko bought Yokohama molds.
Did they really?
That's what he's saying. Mark Kenyon.
Wow. Shinko bought Yokohama molds.
Yeah.
Well, we must verify, but we'll take the word.
Thank God they've been by Yoko Ono mode.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? A tire that screamed at you every time it rotated?
We've had a few at the shop and made some pretty bad noises. I'll tell you
In
that.
related tire news, I lost my train of thought here. Dunlop is shutting down their
Yes.
Buffalo tire.
We want to talk about that.
We were headed there.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So it is true. Yeah, Dunlop North America, which, you know, we sell a lot of, for a long time, we've sold a lot of Dunlop
We're
tires.
waiting on a set of 404s right now.
We are. And I'm one of these guys that when I have the opportunity to sell an American-made product, I will lean heavy into that. And Dunlop has always been there for me. And so as over the years, Dunlop has had more and more and more of their various different tire models no longer made in the United States. But a few years ago, Dunlop, didn't they say Dunlop was partnered with Goodyear? Was that the team up? I can't remember the team up. They're partnered with a massive tire manufacturer in the United States. So they're making more than just motorcycle tires. Dunlop is not just motorcycle tires. But the fact that they had a lot of their models and a lot of their model tires in the motorcycle industry were made in the USA. And sometimes it would surprise me. I'd order a tire in that was budget priced. I'd pull the tire out of the box and holy shit, it says made in America on it. That's kind of a nice surprise. Yep. Especially when their pricing on the pricing on their tires was usually pretty friendly, right? The Dunlop, really what we were dealing with, the Dunlops weren't any more expensive than a lot of their Slovenian
because there's no tariff
or they're Taiwan competitors.
And
right?
if I'm not mistaken, Harley Davidson's the tires that are always marked Harley Davidson on the side, I thought those were Dunlops too.
Yep.
And there's a trick with that. I can help you guys break down the code. So if you're looking at a Harley Davidson tire and it's branded Harley Davidson on the side, then that tire is going to be a made in America. If it's Dunlop, it's going to be a made in America Dunlop. Now, Harley Davidson does also sell tires that are branded and that are Metzlers. And so you can buy them as Metzlers as well. OEM Harley Davidsons do come. They'll come with Metzlers. They'll come with Dunlops. If you're buying the Eagle brand, if you're buying the Shield Harley Davidson tire, then we can order them for you through Drag Specialties. And they're not that much more expensive. It's $20 to go with a made in America tire. And that's pretty cool. For your metric cruisers and stuff like that, they make a tire called the American Elite. And what we thought was hilarious was when the battleship of bikes that was the Moto Guzzi California 1400 came to the United States for all the way from fucking Italy, tested in Australia for who knows how long, right? Heat cycle tested and all this horrible stuff that they did to that motorcycle because Moto Guzzi didn't want to have any egg on their face when the thing came out. Cybertruck. And they wanted to produce a product that was going to be usable and operable by the consumer right out of the box. And this thing shows up and I go over and look at one of the prototype ones that we had in the California Training Center. And I walk up to it and I was like, that son of a bitch has got American tires on it. And I thought, well, that's something. And they said, well, for the tire size that Moto Guzzi mandated the bike had, the tire size that they said they wanted this giant fucking motorcycle, 1400cc V-twin, the only tire company that made that tire that they could lay their hands on was Dunlop. And the tire is actually called a Dunlop American Elite. And the thing about that tire is that tire has some built-in warranty to it. So when you buy American Elites, you're going to spend a little bit more money. But that tire has a replacement warranty from the factory that you can't not buy. It's just part of buying that tire. and they do stand behind those tires. We've had some customers.
Are they?
What's that?
What kind of mileage are they?
So I've seen our customers with the Cali 1400s put between 11 and 13,000 miles on a back tire.
That's a heavy bike.
I've also, it's a very heavy bike and it's got a lot of torque.
Yeah.
I've also seen some tires come in at 7,000 miles that look shagged out. Sport mode can be a bit addictive. And in that sport mode, I can tell you, it will turn that back tire into a giant Sharpie marker pretty quickly. I can testify to that when you put it in sport mode, it's very easy to paint stripes on the road. That bike likes to move out. So, but if you're tender on it and you just go in straight lines, I think that back tire lasts you a really long time. The good news is they are fucking easy to mount. I would give Dunlop engineers get all my credit in the world, because usually you get a tire that's got that profile, that's got a massive, huge, bigger than a 200 profile, and they can start to be real squirrely to mount up. And these Dunlops go on predictably. They go on the same way every single time.
I'll say the same thing for the TKC 80s. That's an easy mounting tire.
They mount real easy. TKC 80s are completely predictable.
And I can say the exact opposite for the Tractionator GPS.
Yes.
Those things are horrible.
Worst 3 hours of my life was when that guy brought in that GTS, and he had that freaking Tractionator on it.
Yeah.
Or no, it was a big V-Strom.
Yeah.
And he brought that thing in, and it looked exactly like a tractor tire. It was square.
Yeah.
And it had like chevrons in it that were so agricultural. I'd never seen anything like that. I fought with that thing for over an hour and a half to get it off the rim. And then I fought with it for an hour and a half to get the new one on the rim.
Oh yeah, I'm cutting mine off.
Oh my God,
I don't
man.
think I'm going to try to get
I should
it
have
off.
I should have cut it off.
Yeah.
Why so hard? Because they're hard.
Yeah.
They're hard.
Dude, he nailed it. Like as it wears
There's no
down,
give. It
as
becomes
it wears
square.
down, it really my tire, my Africa Twin right now looks like this from the sides and back, but it's still in that corner is all rubber. So it's so hard to move the sidewall. It becomes like it's.
And do you remember the old Goodyear commercial? 720, the Goodyear 721.
Or Firestone.
7 wrapped by 2, surrounded by 1. That's the technology that's in this Tractionator tire. When I got that freaking thing off the rim finally, and I'm cursing and my fingers are bleeding and my tire machine is sweating, and I'm sitting over there and I'm like, I used like 4 spoons with the tire machine to get this thing
So you
unloaded.
say they're cast iron steel belted?
Yeah.
But supposedly, now correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, but wasn't it also like you could run down, like if you had like no PSI or you're losing PSI, the
I'm absolutely certain it's a run flat.
Well, that's because that's what makes them tough to mount is like super stiff sidewalls.
Yeah.
And that's also why you can run them with almost zero air in them, or maybe even run them gingerly with no air in them.
Yeah, it'll
Because
get
the
you back
sidewall's
or
so
something.
hard.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
But yeah, man, fuck. I remember I was trying to, because like usually the back I could never get on by myself. I'd have to get help, But the fronts, the 21 inch, usually 21, that's a big tire, man. You could pop those down with a couple of spoons.
Oh, yeah.
I think I launched a spoon. This is when I was in Cleveland Heights. I launched it over my thing, like into the neighbor's yard, like so far away. That thing was so tight. Unbelievable.
It is, it's really tough. That Dunlop is stopping that, right? That plant in Buffalo, that plant in New York made all of their Superbike tires.
They were also making the Trail Max Mission there.
That's right. Trail Max Mission was made there. That's exactly right. The OEM Harley tires. That's where those were made.
Are they moving it somewhere, or are they just stopping production?
Well, Dunlop is owned by Sumitomo.
Okay.
Sumitomo is Dunlop. Okay. So Sumitomo is not going anywhere. Sumitomo has been around for a really goddamn long time. But what is, they've got Japanese factories, they've got forever, right? But the thing is, what they're saying is the Tonawanda, Buffalo, New York tire factory is closing. That's, I think, 1,400 jobs. So, or 1,500 jobs, it says, 1,500 jobs. So the plant doesn't just do motorcycle tires. It does car tires, large truck tires, and medium truck tires as well. So it's a lot of people and it's a lot of tires. And it does suck to lose that. That's just all there is to it. So it's too bad, because I do like that. And I always like that element of like you said, the Mission's another tire. That's a cool tire. And, we love the fact that it's an American-made product. So...
Hey, Robert says Continental Recall was more than the TKC 80s.
No, it was bunch tires, right?
He says, I had a set of Street Attacks recalled at the same time.
That's right. Yeah. I can't tell you off the top of my head what all the models were that were covered in that recall, but it wasn't all for the exact same problem. It wasn't a carcass problem. It wasn't a tire composition problem. It wasn't a manufacturing blem. It was literally, there was the knobby problem with the TKC, and there was like another thing. But I know the TKC one was voluntary. It was never an actual government mandated recall. It was something that Continental decided to do for quality control. And I give them credit for doing that. That's pretty cool. We certainly appreciate that. If nobody else does, we think that's cool. That's pretty rad. Anybody else got anything else?
So Redonk kicked us $5.
Get out of here.
So we got more money coming in from the YouTube.
Dude, that's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
And Redonk is also tapping out.
Yeah,
he tapped out. I didn't even know you could do that. So that's great that people are doing that.
So
that's super fun.
So now we got to figure out how to get the money away from YouTube.
No, you don't. You just leave it there. It's forever. It's their money now. Those are YouTube coin. That's now YouTube coin. Okay. That's phantom currency.
This is how Sleepy buys.
It's only good on the dark web.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that's the only place you can spend that money. As far as my immediate plans are going, we're going to have decent weather on Monday. So like Monday, it's going to rain all day, 50 degrees and rain all day, which just means the salt's going away is all that means.
Yeah.
So that's nice. I might be able to get some stuff into the warehouse, and because I refuse to ride a motorcycle on salty earth.
I'm with you on that. Yep.
Nope.
I will not ride a motorcycle on salty asphalt.
There's a reason why I bought the Civic, which is because I did not
Sacrificial
want
car.
my Honda Element, which grew up in the South, to experience salted roads.
There's no way in the world. There's absolutely no way. And I probably won't be able to get a fluid film party together this year. We'll see how it goes between the raindrops, but
You missed it, bro.
I think I missed it. So we'll see what happens on Monday, but unless it's just, super balmy and awesome.
At this point, you really would have to hose the cars off just to get the rust off.
That's kind of where, there was one year that the snow snuck in on us early before we could get the salt was down before we could do the fluid film. And we just told people, wash your cars, like spend the extra $10 and get the undercarriage wash before you bring them into the shop, bring them over to the house. And we'll go from there. I do have 5 gallons of fluid film just sitting there.
Problem is, you got to get from there to your house.
That's
and get more
right.
salt on.
You got to
Well,
get from the car wash to my house without getting salty.
It's like that scene in Ant-Man where they're talking about the undercarriage
Yep.
wash, and you never pop for that unless you're
never
up north.
pop for that.
Here you pop.
In this
for
case,
it.
you pop for it. But the fluid film's supposed to last for 2 years, so that's us doing it every year was a bit of overkill.
Renee
anyway,
is going to be so disappointed.
We had a discussion about that today.
loves
She
that.
loves fluid film party. Yeah, Renee actually does look forward to fluid film party.
I think she considers it a spa day because her skin gets completely soft
yeah.
from all the stuff. So like,
Because that's like lamb oil or something. It's
Yeah.
something weird.
It is a sheep byproduct.
Yeah.
We call it what it is. It's
Yeah.
a byproduct of the wool
It's
industry.
lamb squeezins.
dude, I got all my calluses on my guitar hand fucking healed last year. And I was like, God damn it, what's going on?
So what Sleepy's saying is we need a fluid film party so that he gets his spa day.
I was listening to some long haul motorcycle riders on one of the other podcasts the other day, and they were talking about the best kind of seat for your long distance riding motorcycle. And these are 3 different people with 3 different opinions, and I know one of them. And they one thing that they all agreed on was a sheepskin.
Yeah.
They all agreed to sheepskin. And then I heard the thing was, but you got to be careful, because if your sheepskin has been washed, if it's a clean sheepskin, then it has no lanolin in it.
Yeah.
And so then it will not repel any moisture. When the rain hits it, it will turn into a 20-pound sponge.
Yep.
So if you have a natural sheepskin, our New Zealand listener will know all about this.
Right.
But if you have a natural sheepskin that has the actual lanolin still in it, water will not stick to it, but it smells like ass.
Yep.
Especially smells like ass for the first several weeks. Well, when I got that new truck, I was like, first thing I'm going to do is I didn't spend extra money on the truck. I got the base model truck, so it has the plastic seats. So I was like, can't live with this. Literally hit the brakes, slide under the dashboard. It's not safe. So I spent the money and got the New Zealand sheepskin seat covers, right? So I bought those, spent the extra couple of bucks because they are fucking nice. They are really, really nice. And I made sure to get actual real New Zealand sheepskin covers. Like not the little, I got the good thick motherfuckers, right? Good deep pile. Well,
Is there a tariff on those?
Ooh, I don't know how we feel about. I don't know how Donald Trump feels about New Zealand and sheep.
I'm not sure Donald Trump knows New Zealand exists.
Okay, also true. But long and short of it is this: when I got them and I opened up the package, they didn't smell like lanolin. And I was saddened. I was sad that they didn't smell like lanolin. I was sad they didn't smell like sheep. But then I thought, well, they're going to be inside my truck.
I was about to say, did you want your inside of your truck smelling like sheep?
They all do anyway because of the fluid film. That's just part of being around our stuff. But then I realized, I was like, no, it's okay. It's inside the truck. They're never going to get wet. It's going to be fine. But all those long distance touring riders all said the same thing. If you have the sheepskin seat cover, you now don't need to pack a pillow.
Oh, no, that ain't happening. That's like putting your face in your own ass.
All night. Just breathe in your ass.
I was wondering if Pete was going to wake up on that one.
Like straight up ass. No way, man. That is gross.
Of the group of us, Pete's going to be the one to give us advice on long distance riding.
Things don't bother me very much, but that's pretty fucking nasty, man.
It better be a charcoal filtered sheepskin.
Dude, I mean, if you've done 8 or 9 hours in a day, you know what's under your ass is going through.
Oh, I would not use the sheepskin seat covers in my F-150 as pillows.
No
way, no how.
Welcome to Pink Eye.
I did use my Airhawk as a pillow. On one of my cross-country trips, I did use the Airhawk as a pillow. I wrapped my sweatshirt around it.
I'd use a cinder block before I'd use my seat pad.
The legend of his ass precedes
When you guys went
him.
cross-country, you just slept in a circle. You just put your head on his feet and his head on Pete's feet, and it just went in a circle. Or Tim's feet. It just went in just do a chain. Like sleeping around the campfire. And when one guy wakes up, you all wake up.
Roll over.
Yeah,
Hey, speaking of Tim, how's Tim's foot doing?
I just saw him this week. I went over there to help him put the snow plow on his four-wheeler and stuff, and spent the afternoon in his garage. And he's actually done pretty well. The swelling's gone down almost completely. He's still in some discomfort in a walking cast, but he's there's light at the end of the tunnel.
The only thing I can think of when you said that is it's been swell, but the swelling's gone down.
Right. Did he get the rod and the screws? Did he get the...
I think he got a plate and some screws. I don't think he got a rod on the top of the tib or fib, whatever it was.
They just put the rod where the bone marrow used to be.
No, he didn't get that.
He didn't get that?
No.
Yeah. I still think it was the best thing that ever could have happened to me. Like, it worked. Yeah. And I was right back to racing. Like, that rod ain't going to break.
Yeah.
So that rod's dramatically stronger than the bones around it.
Well, that's what my hip. I'm always worried about stuff because I'm not worried about the hip breaking. It's like if that rod, it'll go right through this other part of my femur.
Yeah, it was right.
Bad thing.
It's no good anyway. You slice it. And you got to make sure people with MRIs are very much aware of that situation. Yeah. Yeah, that's the...
Can you imagine that?
I've seen how far it'll pull an office chair. It's terrifying. Dude. Yeah. Yeah. I don't even want to think about it. Like you go into an MRI, you forget to tell them that you got metal in your body. And then the metal finds its way out of your body in the fastest way possible. That sounds awful.
Does that stuff light up on a TSA X-ray?
It does, but so it depends on what it is. So when I'm going through the scanner, and I've looked over at the side, it's very clear. It shows an outline. It shows the implants. And so I've got several in my hand, and I've got my leg, and then screws at the top and the bottom of the leg, and then I've got metal in my hand as well. So it absolutely shows up. Now, when you're going through the magnetron, when you're going through the walkthrough one, sometimes it doesn't, because remember, these titanium pieces are a low ferrous steel. There's not as much ferrous metal in them, so they're not identifiable by magnetron, right? So, that's the joke, is the more ferrous, the more iron oxide that is in a metal, the more magnetic it is. So if you walk up with a kitchen magnet, a magnet off your fridge, it sticks to your fridge really great. Put it on your friend's high quality stainless steel fridge and it doesn't stick. Put it on a Tesla Cybertruck and it sticks. That tells you the quality of the stainless in the Cybertruck is not very good. It's stainless, but that just means it stains less. It's not pure stainless. Well, in surgical implants, that shit's very pure. So you're not going to have a high magnetism to those items. So sometimes the hardware will set off the detector. When they're doing the body scanner one, those are generally turned up pretty high. So when they're doing like the Garrett body scan, it always sings and makes noise for that. But there is funny, like the Cedar Point, they turn those down enough. Some courthouses and stuff, I can just, if I walk through them fast, especially. So if I kind of like go like at the last step, speed up, I can make it through and it'll bounce, but it won't set off the alarm. And they'll usually like let you go. But I've also been to ones where they were set very sensitive and they just boop, hit instantly. And if you ever go through one of those and you look at the side of the machine, there's a little LED readout that shows in what area of the scan it picked up the magnetic material or the ferrous material. So it's funny to watch the people going in front of you and you see the lady going through and you know she's going to fuck your line up because she's got a necklace on and some earrings because she just doesn't know how to fly, right? And you see her go through and you watch the little lights on the side and it'll light up right by her skull. And you're like, well, that's the necklace and the thing. And they might stop her for it or they might just go, this dingbat didn't know to take off her jewelry, right? See a guy go through and he's wearing a big watch and it sets it off. You know, that little telltale on the side tells the operator and the people around roughly where that alarm went off so that you don't have to be like, you know, you can see the metals in the guy's ankle. You're not going to be patting him down in his shoulders and head area kind of thing. Just gives you a little heads up. The scatter scanners, those things are wild because when I go in those, I always kind of hang back and look. And after you exit it, your display is still up on the screen. And it's not clear. It's not like you can, you know, read the tattoos or anything. It's intentionally fuzzy so that you can't make out nipples and, you know, dicks and the JJs and whatnot. They literally do. I'm not joking. They've got it tuned down to the point where it's not because people demand their privacy.
So speaking of privacy, I have a question for you guys, man.
Yeah.
So this last night I went and saw that show with my family, right? Whatever. But I was walking by this booth, like where they had the sound and everything.
Yeah.
And then they had this like security guy standing there and there was a giant TV about that size and it had multiple screens for like security screens, right? The bottom one kind of was like a camera overlooking the entire audience walking through. And as people were walking and sitting there, it would pick everybody up with green circles and follow them until they went out of the frame of every single person.
Right.
I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what are they doing? Like, it's like every single person was getting a square and it would follow them and like data was getting pulled up as they were walking through.
If you have a good home camera system, like a Blink system like I have, you can set it for human detection. And when you set it for human detection, then when it detects human shaped objects, it puts a little green circle around them.
That's all it was.
And it follows them, it tracks them. And so it doesn't track, it doesn't track the car driving by, but it does track the human walking through your front yard. So it ignores the car, but it puts a little green circle around the human and it tracks the human.
Well, obviously there'd be humans walking in the theater, but that's just weird. That was freaking me out. I'm like, is there somebody like monitoring shit around here? I was like,
well, it's probably just the overall thing, and they've got human detection set on in case somebody's going to slip behind one of the curtains or something in the dark,
In the dark.
Well, because people do a lot of weird stuff in the dark, man. Did you ever let your friends into the movie theater?
I guess there is that. I just didn't think of
you never let your friends in the movie theater. You bought a ticket and you went back to the back doors of the theater, the emergency exits, opened them up, and let your buddies come in. Is that just my thing? Wow. Okay.
No, we did that.
Yeah, you did that. Right. Exactly. You didn't do it when the lights were on.
Right.
You waited until the lights went out. When the lights went out, you kind of just snuck up front. You watched the usher go up the aisle. And when he went up the aisle, you went out the back and you popped the door on the back and hoped there wasn't an alarm on it. We looked around. If there wasn't an alarm thing on it, we'd open the door. 5 of our buddies would rush in, and then we'd filter back into the cinema, back into the theater, having only one person paid for their $2 ticket.
So what did Congressman Boebert do in the dark in the theater?
Well, that's different. That's called a handy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was quite handy with things.
Or
they were handsy, I guess. That was it. What was that? The Book of Mormon?
Beetlejuice.
Was it Beetlejuice? Beetlejuice, huh?
I mean, we weren't going to get political, but if we're going to get political...
we're not getting political.
I'm not even trying to get political. I'm just saying there's been a lot of romantic things in life. I've seen a lot of erotic stuff. Oh, yeah. And I'm going to say Beetlejuice never made me want to whip it out. Right?
I don't know, man. That snake tongue.
I hate sandworms. I hate them too.
Sandworms.
Moving along.
Moving right along.
So that's about it. We're getting ready to go to the AIM Expo. Not real soon, but we do have plans. And we are planning on attending the AIM Expo, following it up with the one show, because why not? They're the same fucking weekend, and it's Vegas after all.
And since they talked about this for the West Coast, if you were in Vegas and you want to put up a bunch of assholes, I mean...
and the week before that week is the Cincy show. I don't think we're going to be able to go to
Garage
that,
Brood.
Garage Brood is that
Oh my
week.
God, you're right.
yeah.
I just got the letter for Garage Brood. Garage Brood 2025, baby. February 1.
What's Greg gotten that this year?
I don't even know. Right. I'm sure he's going to have a mini bike there, though.
Yep.
I'm absolutely certain of that.
Yeah, I saw what he was working on Thursday.
Oh, you did? You have a sneak peek?
Yeah.
Interesting. We had a great time.
We got a comment.
We do?
What up, Big Boggs? Knack is here.
Knock?
Knock.
Fuck knock. Fuck knock.
Hope y'all had a good dead bird day.
Yes, we
yeah.
did have we had a very good
Since did you
dead.
get a tofurkey?
Yeah, no, we did good, man.
Did you have a tofurkey?
Yeah, we always get like a couple different roasts like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. That's pretty rad.
I got into making like the yams, though. That's my thing. I
you
like
did?
making yams.
You need to try the roast beef
Yep.
I got a yam bag for you.
or the loobster.
The lubster.
The Garage Brood, if you're anywhere near Cincinnati on February 1st, or you can make it your business to be near Cincinnati on February 1st, you need to go to this show.
And try
It
the
is
chili.
Not fucking around. This show is legit. I didn't see a boring bike in there. Every bike that was in that show deserved to be in the show. There wasn't a bad one.
I might still
single
go
one.
to this, even if we're going the rest of the week. I might just go down for that.
I might too.
Yeah,
I might go down.
have to do
Go
it.
down and pick up some COVID.
Yeah. Last year.
Oh, poor Sleepy.
I wasn't the only one, right?
No, you weren't the only one.
Okay, yeah.
a whole lot of
that
people got
sucked.
COVID.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's not screwing around.
But it was worth it. I mean, yeah.
I wonder if we could actually get somebody to tell the tale. How many people came home from the Garage Brood show with COVID?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. That was a super spreader event.
That was a super spread. I think
Sorry,
it was.
guys.
Yeah. I think it was a super spreader event because the AIM Expo is the 5th through the 7th, so it's a short 4 days between the two. But airplanes fly there.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to take us longer to drive to Cincinnati than it's going to take us to fly to Vegas.
You know, but this is what happens when you get the unwashed together. See?
Yes, it is. Well, it is. It's absolutely true.
As the saying goes, Vegas, baby.
And I'm going to be I swore a few years ago, I was like, fuck it, I'm never going back to Vegas. And then the Misfits went out to Vegas. So I was like, well, I feel compelled to go out to Vegas because those are my people. And a flight was $79.
Well, there's still hotel pools that are to be tested. I thought there was
not in fucking February. So if you pull up your smart device right now
no.
and type in Las Vegas pools open in February, and you will learn that there are no Las Vegas pools open in February.
Is what happens at 6:04 p.m. In the winter.
Yeah. Because when I was in AIM Expo last year and I had to make the schlep between my hotel and the convention center, I developed like level 3 nipple frostbite walking in the 52 mile an hour windstorm that is Vegas in 42 degree ambient temperature.
Dude, I was shooting out there when I was doing the blaster stuff. We were doing the desert race, the stadium truck racers, and then we took the one dude out to the middle of the Red Rock deserts out there, whatever, to do this sunset shot of him, like time lapse with the thing setting behind him. And so, like, I'm in fucking jeans and a t-shirt, like just sitting there. We're doing all this, and like it's like 90 degrees.
Oh yeah.
And the sun goes down, and I'm like, see, it's not that bad. And it was like delayed by 5 minutes.
Yep.
And then 5 minutes later, a little colder. Like 10 minutes later, it's like 34
The heat
degrees.
just escapes the earth in a
it's
hurry.
Insane how cold
I was
it
out
gets,
there last
man.
year and I went to a spot and I was like, this is great. I'm going to sit down here at this patio and have a cocktail. And I sat down. It was like a beautiful, balmy 54 degrees.
Yep.
And by the time I was done having my drink, this guy goes, look, it's snowing. And I was like, the bullshit. This is Vegas. It's snowing.
Yeah,
and
it's
it was
snowing.
snowing. And, so don't just bring your jams and your flippy floppies. It is Las Vegas, but it is the desert. It will get chilly. It will get chilly. It's not going to be snow. You're going to be leaving the snow at home probably, but it is chilly. And AIM Expo, I will not oversell it. Do not go in there thinking it's going to be bigger than the last international motorcycle show you went to when they used to do those. And you'd go into the one at Minneapolis, you go to one in Cleveland, you'd be like, man, this is too much shit to see in one day. And the AIM Expo is not too much shit to see in one day.
Man, I really miss the bike shows, man.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
I think we all do. The AIM Expo is a little bit of an homage to that. But if you stop at every booth and take a good look at every booth, you'll be in there for about 6 hours.
And on top of that, you get to ride the Hyperloop.
But I mean, like, I can't believe that they really killed the shows. Like, that was like for all the people that live in the North, when you can't ride, it was like the oasis to go and see all the people you hadn't seen for a couple of months, and you see all the stuff. And
that's what I was about to say with the Garage Brute show. It falls at a perfect time of the year.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate that when the IMS shows were alive and well, that the Cleveland show was in the dead of winter.
Yes, it was.
You know, the season was like months long, and some places got it in the fall, some people got it later in the spring, but it fell here in the dead of winter, and it was just a nice spacer. You know,
I planned.
Gave you hope.
I worked.
Is that the playout?
I worked that
going on here?
international motorcycle show circuit a couple of years, and I would do all 16. You know, I would do all the shows all over America, and it always killed me because I'd always been to the Cleveland show, obviously, right? And then I would go and I'd go to like a Dallas show, and I was like, you know, it's the weather's great, it's sun's shining, birds are chirping,
people riding to
and
the
I'm
show.
like, yeah, man, this place is going to be packed. Crickets, because people got other shit to do. Minneapolis show was a week before or a week after Cleveland, and they were packed. It was packed because it's miserable cold out, and this is a great place to go. Where are your Harley shit, right? And show off all your tattoos and everything.
New York would have all the bike gangs.
We would have, and it was so packed, but you'd go to the West Coast shows like Long Beach and all that stuff, and you'd be like, wow, it was dead. There was nobody there.
Yeah, because they don't have down season.
Right. So I think that maybe we have a bit of a screwed up view of it all. Since the years that we were doing it here, it was always assholes and elbows.
Yeah.
This show was always
Here's
packed.
another. There's still motorcycle shows going on in Canada.
Yeah.
And there's the Toronto show, I think is like roughly Valentine's weekend.
What?
Yep.
January 29th, Mika Motorcycles
Where's that?
on TV.
Oh,
So if you need to buy a $10,000 Vietnamese Vespa, Meekum has got you covered.
I got 80,000 to buy a fake Kawasaki.
a fake
Kawasaki God.
KC9, right?
Hey, you look at that
Z1R.
thing, and the Kawasaki logo is backwards, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to spend $80 grand on an H.
Merritt said it today. Merritt's like, we're going to have a tough time over what I've noticed, we have to change our approach at the shop because she's in the shop on Saturdays. She gets to talk to customers. She gets to be around. And she did today. She was like, she goes, she works in education. And so everything she looks at, she's like, okay, what could education have done differently 30 years ago to prevented that guy being the way he is right now today? Right. That's how she looks at the world. Like, where did we fuck up as educators? How can we save the next generation from that? What can we do to stop it now before it starts? And today at the shop, after somebody was in the shop, she kind of went, you know what? We all have to work a lot harder. We have to work just a lot harder. And I agree. I think that one of the biggest things that is hurting our industry is that people aren't getting out and doing and learning. You learn by experience. You learn by doing stuff.
Well, check this out. So like I thought this was kind of funny. So like all the YouTube motorcycle channels that are like kind of about, the kids are probably 20 years younger than us, right? They're 30-ish.
Yeah.
All those guys. I think they're all finding vintage bikes. Like that Bikes and Beards dude went and bought a whole thing of Japanese bikes, and he's going through it. It's like RG250s and all this stuff. And like they're getting excited. Then you see another guy and he's like, I bought this crazy vintage 4-cylinder CB or 350, and they're all freaking out about it. And I'm like, oh my God, they're finding this stuff. Like, oh, good.
No, they're literally finding our cast-offs at this point.
I mean,
it's crazy.
A guy came into the shop the other day and was asking for all kinds of support on a 1972 Honda CB750.
Yeah.
And he came in and he's like, I'm going to need this and I'm going to need that. I'm going to need this and that. I'm like, no motorcycle dealership has those parts.
No, but do you understand how exciting this is? Because look, we're all burned out.
Oh, yeah, we're burned out.
I'm done trying to chase carburetors and things like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat that these kids with energy are getting into it again.
Yeah, this is
like
a 40-year-old guy.
Caretaking kind of like, you know,
Okay. We're gonna approach this because this is where we're at.
Yeah, that's where we live.
If you're an 18 to 35-year-old that has suddenly gone, you know what I really love? Single cam CB750s.
Yeah.
And you want to know how to work on them?
Yeah.
Show up at the fucking shop tomorrow with your fucking toolkit, and we're gonna talk.
Right. Or show up at Skidmark. Right.
No. I need a Patsy.
Yeah, but dude, don't make
You need
fun.
a shop monkey.
I need a shop monkey.
You need a shop monkey. That's right.
Look what he's
We do
doing,
need a shop
man.
monkey.
Look what he's doing. He's
We
like,
need a shop monkey.
There's no credible young people that can work on bikes. Then you get kids that are getting interested, and he's like,
No.
What he's saying is coming to the shop.
Fired
and I
up,
like what he's saying.
You are
If you're
fired
fired up, report to your local motorcycle shop.
I will teach you.
I promise you, that's how I got started.
Oh yeah, I want some impressionable young person.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit who you are.
Yeah.
Show up with your fucking toolkit Monday morning.
Oh, I was
will
drooling
get
on the
you
guys
in.
at H&H Cycle on Vine Street, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Dude, I have always told people
They didn't have to pay me.
because Harris is a good example.
I drooled on Phil.
Harris showed up to work and he was very eager, but he was very apprehensive about talking to me and asking me questions because I'm a very sullen, kind of very surly kind of guy because in New Orleans I was kind of an asshole. But the reality is that if you ask me a question, I will give you the honest answer. I will tell you how to fix it. So if you are an impressionable young person who wants to learn,
What if it ain't broke?
If you're an impressionable old person that wants to know how to work on a fucking motorcycle,
Oh, it's broke.
show the fuck up.
It's broke. That idea of the Meekum, the finding the lost classics. When we see that stuff, we're burned on it because we owned that bike 20 years ago, right? We owned that bike 20 years ago, and we sold that bike for $4,000. And so we get really, really upset when we see a bike sell for $50,000, right?
Right.
And so it does. It chaps our ass when we see that, and that makes perfect sense. But that's just old man syndrome. That's just FUD syndrome. That's all it is, and that's what we're doing. We have a right to do it. That's fine. Oh, there's Tim Burke. Look.
Yeah.
So
One of the listeners says, Tom, I'll shop monkey for you to work on my dad's 81 KZ 1300 that hasn't run in 30 years.
Let's go.
So there.
Well, I mean, you got to talk to
hey,
Phil.
good news is it has only one fuel injector.
So there.
The bad news is it has 6 cylinders.
Well, no, the KZ1300 has 3 2-barrels.
Oh, it's just 3 2-barrels. You're right. You're right.
Unless it's the Voyager. Then
No,
it might
it's
have to go in
KZ 1300. I'm sure, right? Because then it runs 3 2s, right?
81.
3 2s.
3 2-barrel.
But it is fuel injected. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Somewhere. I mean, if it's a KZ 1300 plain Jane, it's 3 2-barrel carburetors. If it's a Voyager,
that's right.
Those were fuel injected.
Those were fuel injected. You're absolutely right.
The Voyagers were still carb.
Yes.
I've burned down a Voyager. You want to talk about this?
I want to talk about this.
I have literally
Yikes.
caught a Voyager on fire. So that's the only bike
That
I've
doesn't
ever burned down.
surprise me.
And it was a friend of mine's, which is the worst part.
Apparently, according to slashgear.com, Kawasaki's first electronic fuel injected motorcycle was the KZ 1300 in 1980.
Oh, okay. So later on.
Yeah.
I know.
So-
I read a lot of
because-
my neighbor has one sitting in his garage, so I kind of got into it a little bit and learning about them.
Yeah.
And guys were talking about trying to take your carbureted KZ 1300
Right.
and retrofit it with the fuel injection because they're like 79, I think, was the first year for them, and those I think have carbs.
Yeah, the fuel injected version. It turns out you could have had a smaller bike. It wasn't just the 1300. I did not know this. This is news to me. That the Z1000G,
Okay.
the Z1000G /1, the 1980 Z1000G.
Which would that have become the Voyager or the?
No,
Okay.
No, the Voyager was
not the Voyager. The
right.
Oh, I don't know why I can't.
Yeah.
Concourse. Yeah.
That was like a ZG1000 or something.
Well, this is a Z1000G -1 Classic.
saying?
I do. And this one's particularly is called the Z1000G1 Classic. Was available as carbureted or for $500 more fuel injected.
And the
you had your choice.
And the Voyager was like a X11. I think, because it was a 1200.
What I know about the Voyager doesn't fit in my pocket.
Well,
I don't know much about the Voyager. I've been lucky enough to miss those.
1200 cow. If you ever wanted a gold wing, but not have a bike,
I've seen them,
and not have a bike that sucked.
But I don't know how they built them
was
out.
the bike you wanted. It was just the 4-cylinder Kawasaki.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how they put those out there.
I'm waiting for the neighbor to die, and then I'm going to approach the widow. I've offered him running bikes for his non-running bike, and he just hasn't bit for it. And I don't know why I even wanted.
We just talked about this. I even told you, I said I have about 30 bikes that I don't need.
You know, he went jump for a running bike over a non-running bike.
So Audio Vector says
Vector
KZ 1300 were not fuel injected at all. Then he says 1980 KZ 1000 Limited was first injected, and then he finishes up with I have both.
You have them both. That's excellent.
There you go.
That's excellent. According to Kawasaki's webpage, the 1300 Voyagers from 84 to 89 were only fuel injected.
84.
They had Mikuni fuel injection from the beginning of production. 1300 Voyagers. That's according to Kawasaki's website, which they might know. So yeah, they might have that. The other ones,
those motors have a nylon gear or a nylon sprocket like up on the top of the motor, and some people are like, don't even try to start one of those if it's been sitting for a long time. You
really?
have to first replace that thing, take the valve cover off or something like that.
So calling back to the earlier thing with the Atlanta guy, it's like a BMW Z4's cam timing.
Oh, really? Yeah,
because they use nylon gears.
Nylon gears.
Their timing.
Jesus Christ, my '68 Lincoln had a nylon
it's like
cam.
but it's a tensioner. It's not the actual, it's some sort of tensioner, and they're like, if that goes, you're fine.
I just remember that the guy down the street from me had the KZ 1300, a green KZ 1300 street bike.
Neighbors is green.
Yep. And it was green, and it was a 6-cylinder, and I had the CBX, and there was never any question at all who was going to make it to the end of the street first. The CBX consistently dominated that KZ 1300 with 300 less CCs. But he did let me ride it one time, and I can only say one thing about it, and I was like, God damn, this motorcycle's heavy. Compared to a CBX, which was no lightweight, the KZ 1300 standard, no fairings, no bags, no nothing, it felt like it weighed 300 pounds more than the CBX. I'd be slightly interested to know the tail of the tape and see which one weighed more. But somebody the other day posted a picture of a CBX Euro style, like 81, 82, white one with the bags, the Tour Pack. And I will promise you, I will pay no small amount of money to watch whoever wants to buy that CBX do the next valve adjustment. 24 valves, 6 cylinders, access is not good. And it's extraordinarily frustrating. And when you're done doing the carbs, you can do the carb. When you're done doing the carbs, you can do the valves. So 24 valves, 6 carburetors is great. It was a cool motorcycle, but it wasn't that cool enough for that.
Why do you think in 2024 and going onward at this point that motorcycles still need fucking valves checked at 8 and 12 and 15,000 miles compared to cars at like 30?
It's because how
never.
Yeah, right.
Because, I'm hydraulic.
Well, how tight are you pulling the rubber band?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So how tight are you pulling the rubber band? How light are you trying to make the things inside the motor?
Yeah.
So what are you making the valve seats out of? What are you making the valves out of?
I get that, but I'm saying, like, don't you think that they could have come up with something else at this point?
They did. They've had hydraulic valves on Harley Davidsons for ages and everything else. But the problem is
black tip, crazy valve stems and hardened seats and everything else. The reality is it's just cheaper to have you adjust your valves.
Yep. And in Japanese and sport bike motor production, lightweight is important.
Yeah, I know.
And they figure that the customer's okay with some enhanced expenses.
Sure would have been a lot easier if that was a Sigel overhead cam CBX.
Sure would be. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
You know what? You start to realize, like,
I don't know if you could do that, though. Such a long cams across.
Benelli did. So Benelli's 6-cylinder 750s were single cam.
I'll say
What were you saying, Cinch?
I was just going to say, like, think about how many bikes. So, like, as you get to the point where you really start to know, like, okay, these bikes are getting into the pocket where they're going to need the valve check. So a lot of people sell them. Is exactly the time when a kid that doesn't know that at all is like, holy shit, I could buy that bike for $3,800.
Hey, Sleepy.
And then, 800 miles later, they blow up and the cycle continues.
Hey,
It's kinda
Sleepy,
sad.
how much is that Aprilia going to cost
Sleepy,
you to
I
do
think
the
Tom wants
valves
to say
on?
something to you.
How much is your Aprilia going to cost you to do your valves?
Yeah, I understand. That's one of the reasons I'm upset. But yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I knew
What's
but
Ducati cost when you have to do a belt service?
right, but I didn't buy an Aprilia going into it thinking it was going to be $4.
Oh, nobody thinks those motorcycles are going to be cheap to
yeah.
maintain.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, no, strike that. I will rescind my statement. I know a lot of people who bought a lot of mid-90s Ducatis.
Oh, yeah.
Myself included. And the sex factor of the motorcycle was so potent that I spent the money before I backwards researched the maintenance requirements.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh shit, it's already 2,000 over on the valve adjustment. Oh fuck, this is the original cam rubber band.
Take
right?
it for a quick test ride and sell it.
Oh my God. And then you realize you're like, oh, okay, well, there, I guess I had to have it.
Do not start this bike because the belt is 10 years old.
I'm going to tell you right now, if anybody tries to sell the Multistrada in our showroom, I'm going to fucking slap their hand because I know it's only going to make one Doug.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it's going to break.
Well, I didn't expect to put the mileage that I put on the Tuono as I did.
Yeah.
I was like, 4,800, 5,000 miles before the next valve. That's
that'll
two
be
years of
years.
riding. And then
That'll be years.
And then he realized it was fun to ride.
Oh, man.
The problem with fun to ride bikes, especially Italian ones, they require maintenance.
Yeah. $1,298 worth of parts maintenance.
Well, that's the thing is, I think what you're finding out is the part that when I learned Desmo and I learned oh man, there's so many different ways you can do a Desmo.
Lapsed Church of Desmo.
It's not obvious. And even if you use the service manual, it's not obvious. There's also the insider tips about you don't actually do it that way,
right?
Which makes your life a little bit easier. But at least with Desmo, you don't have to buy a lot of parts.
Right. Well, this.
But with your bike, you do have to buy.
Why do you have to buy more than just the shims or whatever?
It's all the gaskets, all of it, the whole motor is all gaskets. But here's the
Can't you
thing:
just put it back together with all the original ones?
Yeah.
A little bit of
All the way in and all the way out.
TV.
yeah, you can if you want, I guess. But no, but you know
I
what?
think the drain plug in his bike is a single use operation.
but I'll tell you this: I'm obviously I'm late to this game.
That's the 848.
I'm very late to the game, so there are already so many sacrificial lambs that have figured everything out.
Yeah.
So AF1 Racing has, here's the kit that you need, and also here's get the service manual, and then here's our for
addendums.
the dummies for the service manual.
That's brilliant.
I'm not going to lie. I love Italian motorcycles. They feel amazing. Everything about them is great. The SV650 is the way to go if you want fucking Ducati.
Yep.
Yeah, but the SV650 did almost make me fucking have a boner for a month, dude.
Speaking of boners, I came out of the shower and I ran into the bedroom and my wife was there. And I said, hey, honey, I got 275 pounds of dynamite for you. And she said, the dynamite doesn't scare me, but that 2-inch fuse does.
And
that's all we need, folks. Remember to please ride fast and take chances. Play us out of here, Johnny.
Bum, 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 bum.